but the gold sands is raised. Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football.
Good evening, Bournemouth fans. We are live. It's August the 8th, 2020, and I'm reading out the date because, well, it's a special live show on Back of the Net. It's our second in a week, in fact. Last week, it was to tell you the shock news that Eddie Howe had left the club. And this week is to tell you that Jason Tindall is taking over. Cherries fans were very gutted to see that the man in charge left last today, and there was an outpouring of emotion, I've got to say, that I've never quite witnessed previously. Well, maybe the last time he left, perhaps. But this week, though, it seems that Cherries fans have got mixed emotions somewhat. And whilst the majority wanted the continuity of Howe, there are seemingly some reservations about the continuity of Tindall. Regardless, I think continuity seems to have been the buzzword all week. And Howe mentioned sort of new direction in his letter. The club didn't, but Howe did. And it's something that we fixated on for quite a bit. And we're going to dissect a lot of that today, I'm absolutely sure. From a personal point of view, sometimes with JT, I think he's a man whose nous with the media is probably helping people form more opinion than his actual coaching ability, perhaps. And there are even some people on Twitter that have expressed their adversity to his very first interview. I mean, if points were won through media sound bites, then yeah, maybe I'd worry about it, but I'm not. And bloody hell, I'm still trying to get over the fact that we're relegated. But look, your opinions count. I'm going to give my personal stance to kick off with, as I like to inject a little bit of optimism ahead of his, ahead of his tenure at AFCB. So whilst Eddie, in his kind of release last Saturday, he heralded a new direction. I think what Eddie meant was new ideas. Him and JT fell out a fair bit due to arguments about how certain things are done and the tactics that were deployed on the pitch. Was Eddie right this season? Our league position suggests he probably wasn't. JT, I'm hoping, will take the best parts of Eddie's philosophies and tweaking the system, bringing in his new ideas to his own style, maybe. I think that continuity in squad harmony is key. I think an external manager, if we were going to get someone from the outside, people talked about Chris Hooton and Gary Monk and John Terry and loads of people. Yeah, they'll bring in new ideas, new staff, and they'll have less than a month to get things sorted. Not great for squad harmony, potentially relearning the way of playing. Maybe Jason Tindall will just help us tread water. We don't know. However, someone else could, in my opinion, genuinely completely upset the apple cart. And it would be a costly mistake if we got that managerial decision wrong, wouldn't it? Tindall, he's a hands-on manager. He banters with the players, and he arguably has closer relationships than what Mr. Howe had with them. That's visible from the videos that you see on AFCB TV. And Eddie's always had that professional divide, and JT always has a few more laughs and jokes. And I know that dynamic would change with Jason Tindall being manager, but it's clear that the guy still commands a fair bit of respect. And I think the work that he does is probably underestimated by many. There are also players like Ramsdale, Kelly, Stacey, all of whom have bought into Eddie and JT's philosophy. And a change could genuinely change the way they feel about the club they play for. And there are talented players in that bunch that we really cannot afford to let go. Look, maybe the decision isn't good for the fans, but the board have probably made the decision based on the players that actually win the points. So listen, of course, no matter your opinion, we're all going to get behind him, of course. And whilst that is my view, I do understand that yours might be different. It probably is. That's what this show is all about today. Lots of positive, engaged, stimulating debate. And I promise you that by the end of the show, we'll all be looking forward to what should be quite an absorbing season. And, from everyone's point of view, I just hope it's inside the ground rather than on the TV as soon as possible. So, yeah, that's my opinion. I'm happy for JT to be in charge. I'm not worried about being wrong if he turns out to be a failure, and I'll admit it on Back of the Net, no problem. I do see a lot of people being a bit negative before the guy's even, before he's finished wiping his feet on the mat. Some of it is qualified opinion, I've got to say, and we have specifically got a few people on to give us their qualified views, and others is a little bit knee-jerk. But tonight, all you need is a pair of headphones. New faces are welcome. We're going to be here for however long it takes, but when we start, rehashing the same sentences and I got matchsticks that I need to put into my eyes, then we might call it a night. But whether you're a boy, girl, woman, man, whatever, we'd love to hear from you. Just grab some headphones. Go to afcbpodcast.com/take part. I've had my say. And whilst I like to believe that I only speak in facts, truth is I probably don't. I don't profess to have a higher opinion than anyone else, but I'm certainly one of those give the benefit of the doubt kind of guys. So is our first guest tonight like that? We're going to find out. We're going to bring in Gene Parkin very, very shortly, but someone who's been standing by is Morgan Scott. Morgan,
hello.
How are you this Saturday night? It is a scorcher, isn't it?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah?
Well, it sounds like he may not be able to hear us, Morgan. Hopefully you can sort your audio out very, very soon. That's a good start. Gene Parkin is here as well, though. And Gene, fire away.
Okay, I think, go with JT. I've no problems. I think in hindsight, there's lots of things where what the fans thought were wrong. I think Eddie did a lot of work with the players at the expense of the spectators. And I think the club really should start to feel about addressing that. I think it would have been great if 5 years in Premier League, we could have said we've got a new Ted McDougall stand. I know we've got lots of problems. We don't own the stand, so it's very difficult. But I still think after 5 years in Premier League, we've got nothing to show for it, really.
No, agreed. And apologies for the issues. We've got a lot of people on the show tonight. Paul, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, what I might do, Paul, I might have a look at some issues behind the scenes. So I might let you chat, sort of amongst yourselves for now. What I'm going to do is also bring in Simon as well. So, Paul, I'm going to go off and sort a few things here. But if you want to just ask a few questions whilst I do a few technical bits behind the scenes, you carry on, mate.
Thanks a lot. Yep. So, Simon, what's your take on JT becoming manager?
I think my first reaction was that it wasn't the most inspiring thing, but it's probably the best thing for the situation we're currently in. Bearing in mind the variables that exist, we're coming through, we're still in a pandemic. I'm not so comfortable with huge changes in a short period of time in the backroom staff. But as I've tweeted a couple of times, I don't think the honeymoon period will be very long. I think the expectation is that many of us will expect JT to make a few changes, put his own stamp on things very quickly, and let's see what happens. Maybe he'll take us back to 5 or 6 years ago. Go back to how we roared through the championship and get Stacey on one wing and get Lloyd Kelly on the other doing the overlaps. Stanislas and Brooks, if Lerma stays, a bit of that in the middle with a Lewis Cook or off a ball. I think we've got some very interesting depth in the squad if the top players go. So I'm happy to give them a chance. The club's not going to fall apart in the short term, that's for sure. And I'll take stability in the championship this season that's my view.
And in terms of an assistant for JT, who would you put as assistant?
I'd like to have Steve Purchase as his assistant. Mm-hmm. I think he's the most qualified. I think that works. I'm not sure whether I'd like to see everybody in the chain of command stay, if that makes sense. But I'm not quite sure who I'd want not to be there because it's not the most visible of things. The structure of how things work were always leading to Eddie. I'm not quite sure how that works with JT.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, who is our defensive coach or coaches? Who are they, and why have we been conceding so many goals in the last 5 seasons? And should they remain on as defensive coaches, or should we get in some new blood for that role? It's an interesting conundrum.
I think it's surprising the fact that we've had 2 central defenders as manager and assistant, but we haven't been able to get the defence right.
No, that's true.
It's a curious one, isn't it, really? We've been looking at being an attacking side, and we've been a fantastic exponent of attacking football over the last 5 years, 7 years probably. But we can't seem to defend, and whatever we do, we can't seem to to plug those gaps, which is a bit curious. I'm hoping that JT. I mean, we don't know anything about him, really, do we? Because it's always been Eddie doing the talking, Eddie in front of the cameras, all the attention, from the written and the broadcast media has been on him. JT's been very much in the background, but he must have been quite influential, you would think, for Eddie to want to have him there. So he must have some good qualities, and I think now's his time. He's got to step out from behind Eddie, and he's got to show us what he's got. And I'm quite positive that maybe there's a really good manager there, but we just and hopefully he's learned from some of Eddie's mistakes. I think Eddie was he didn't like to change, did he? And we saw some of the players that we thought he couldn't drop for whatever reason, and we didn't understand. Maybe JT's a little bit more flexible.
Did you see JT's interview on the website today?
I watched the start of it. I've been out all day down in London, so
okay.
I watched the start of it. Yeah.
Wondered whether or not you thought that sort of inspired you a bit more to what he's about as a manager, and where he thinks the club's going to go. He's talking about bouncing straight back up.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment.
Okay.
Apologies for the issues. You know what? This stream is really, really busy tonight, and people keep on trying to enter the room. We can only have 10 at once. So I think when we're oversubscribed, it slows people down. And I just had an issue whereby I couldn't get back into the broadcast studio myself. So I was pressing refresh. It's like, hang on, this show's going on without me. Absolutely.
Samo.
Yeah, yeah. Morgan, we chatted, briefly off air. Can you tell us a bit about exactly what the statement from Jason Tindall actually said today?
Yeah, sorry about the audio. You were crackling. I couldn't hear what you were saying at the beginning of the show this evening. According to the AFC Bournemouth website, I'll read just a few things that stood out. And this is what JT has said. Given the success of the club over the last 12 years with Eddie in charge and me beside him, I'm not going to come in and rip everything up and start again. I would be a fool to do that. But I'm my own person with my own ideas, and I will be looking to implement them as soon as we get back onto the training ground. I know the Championship is very tough league, but my aim is to get the club back into the Premier League at the first time of asking. This is a challenge that I feel I am ready for and one I'm looking forward to. AFC Bournemouth's owner, Max Devon, has said Jason has played a huge role in this club's success over the last decade and fully decides to step up and become our new manager. While knowing his knowledge of a passion for the club is unquestionable, he was the standout candidate for this role. He has huge enthusiasm for the project and great ideas to best line out of the talent of the squad. This is the start of a new era for this football club, and I am excited about what the future holds. A strong statement from... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, Paul Kenwood. Yeah, strong statement, as he said. It says he's going to get us, try to get us back into the Premier League at the first attempt. That's an extremely strong statement, isn't it?
It's a very strong statement, and it very much, I think, will depend upon which players remain with us in the next couple of months. Because if you're saying right now with the squad he's got, yes, I think we could challenge for going back up, probably looking at playoffs or above. If we lost Wilson, King, Brooks, Lewis Cook, Ramsdale, then suddenly you're looking at that. Everybody being ripped out of the sort of the young upcoming players being ripped out of the team, and you've got to rebuild the team again. So if Maxim's keen to go straight back up and he's trying to hold on to those players, and those players are willing to stay and not do a Fraser, then I think JT could have a good shout, depending on if the players buy into his philosophy.
I think there was a good article in The Athletic today about it, wasn't there? I don't know if anyone read that, but saying that JT is the one who has a really close relationship with the players. He's the one who is very positive around the group, and they appreciate him for that. So maybe we'll see a bit more of a smile on their faces, because we haven't seen that for a little while.
No, we really haven't. And it's very interesting seeing the reaction online, because a lot of people are genuinely really upset with Eddie Howe going. But there are people bringing out stats to support the fact that, well, we've lost 30 in our last 52, but how can you be upset about Eddie Howe going, yet equally upset about JT staying as well? I don't quite sort of understand kind of what point they're trying to make sometimes, but continuity in the squad harmony is possibly like really key, because a lot of those players did buy in, Paul, to Eddie and JT as well.
Yeah, that was the main worry for me when Eddie left, was the players that had bought into Eddie and Jason's philosophy of attacking football, of coaching, bringing the players through. We historically, we only sort of sign a player and then we let them play for a year in the reserves, and then once they understand how we play football, then they get brought through. But what happens to those players now that Eddie's gone? And I think they'll stay now that Jason's been announced as the manager. I think that they will understand that they underperformed as a team, as a squad last year. It wasn't just Eddie's tactics that, brought us down. It was also, the players who were actually on the pitch. So I'm hoping that Ramsdale, for example, who was saying only a week ago how much he was disappointed, and mainly for the fans that, that we couldn't stay up and they couldn't do it on the last couple of games. I'm hoping that he sort of sticks by his word and doesn't just run off when the first offer comes. Which it has. But obviously we've rejected the first one, but they'll come back again, I'm sure.
Simon, some people online have been saying, well, the teams change their manager throughout the season, so why are we saying that 5 weeks or whatever it is that they will get until the new season? We're all saying it's not enough time. Other clubs make changes, so why is that? Because we seem to feel as though there's a lot to change within those 5 weeks. I mean, the club is built around Eddie, even where the trees are planted around the training ground, as Mark McAdams said the other day, the marketing things on the wall. It would be like stepping into someone else's house. It would take a hell of a lot of time to change it to your own. Do you think it would have been too late for someone else to come in?
Probably originally I didn't, but I think now as time's moving really quickly and there hasn't been huge momentum in this conversation in terms of other options, I think this has to be it. I was trying to think of an analogy earlier of what the club is, and with Eddie leaving it, and I don't know why, but I ended up in the game of Jenga, that you can nudge certain pieces out of it, but it won't necessarily fall down. You can keep certain bits there and it will stand up for longer. So with JT, certainly for the short to medium term, that club structure and tower maintains intact. I think other key pieces of the background and the structure of how the clubs worked are really important. It's just whether they all come together and can make that complete once more, almost like starting the game again. There is a risk of that tower falling down, but I don't think that risk is massive in the short term. Results will prove everything, and I'm convinced that the blend of experience and youth, if we can keep them, should serve us well in the Championship. I also think JT will know and understand what it takes to get out of the Championship. Any managerial comparison that people make about JT is years ago, and that's really unfair. He'd have learned huge amounts from working as closely with Eddie and with this standard of players that they've been around. So I think what I'd like to see is some changes in the backroom structure. I don't know whether Jason's going to be a bit less whole club managerial, if I can put it that way. Maybe certain things could be lifted off the roll so he can maybe have a bit more freedom, a bit more time, maybe a bit more time to spend with the players. If he's got that close relationship with them, maybe there was something missing there. Maybe something had gone wrong at some point between Eddie and JT. I often looked at the sidelines on the TV games, and sometimes the faces that JT would give behind Eddie were quite interesting. Not that I'm an expert in body language, but I found that fascinating. One thing that is guaranteed is JT will give us a lot more gob on the sidelines than Eddie ever did.
Well, of course. I mean, JT is always the one that would, speak about the fourth official, speak in no uncertain terms to the, fourth official. And apparently, according to some intel that I've got, there is no disagreement between Eddie and JT. They are still friends and everything is all, good between them. And, there are a few more things that could be said. But of course, we're mainly here to concentrate on the fact that, you know, JT is now our manager. So, Neil, in terms of your optimism levels, how are you feeling now that it's officially been announced, or are you still a bit meh?
Sam, you know me for a long time. I'm always bright and cheerful and optimistic.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I know when last time I came on the show, I was quite positive, even though it was after Eddie had just left, because only because I felt that Eddie seemed to have run out of steam, and I think we all appreciate and accept that towards the end he looked knackered. He really did. It just completely drained. Now JT will have a shot of adrenaline, and it's up to him now, and he's got the opportunity to show what he can do. I think maybe, although Eddie is a hugely positive person, it may have just been that everyone saw that he was running out of steam, and that brought the squad down a little bit, and he couldn't motivate them. JT starts for me with a clean slate. He's got new ideas, but he's got experience, and he knows what works. So it may be a great opportunity, and I'm actually really positive. I don't know if that positivity extends to getting promoted at the first attempt back to the Premier League, but you know, any one of probably 10 teams will be thinking the same, that they've got a chance, and it does depend on what happens to our players. And who we bring in.
Do you think it'd be quite nice now, though? I mean, I know JT has said what he said, but wouldn't it be nice to have almost a confirmation of that statement of intent that the board put out on Tuesday through Maxim? Because he said about the fact that our ambition is to get back into the Premier League, and we all felt really positive about that. Then Eddie went, and we thought, well, hang on, and now we got JT, which, you know, to all intents and purposes, you look at it and you could think that's a backward step. I know he's now saying it and, you know, paying the lip service by saying, you know, this is my role and this is what I think that I can do. But don't you think the board now almost need to come out and say exactly almost what they're going to give JT and just, you know, reaffirm what they said in the first place?
I don't know. I think Max has already said what he said, and I can only see this as being part of that philosophy, that he wants to keep the impetus going forward with someone who knows the club and someone that he knows and can see how he works. I don't think he needs to restate anything. That they put their faith in JT, and you know they know him better than anyone. And so I don't see that it needs anything else.
Fair enough. Neil, thank you for coming on. There are people waiting to get in the room. So, yeah, we'll let you go now. Thank you very much, Neil. Really appreciate that. Morgan, and I know you want to get some words in before you go off and watch the football. So, you know, what are your thoughts in general about, what's happened, today? Were you on the pro JT camp, or were you hoping for someone external?
I'll be completely honest. This was no shock for me that Bournemouth were going to do this. I'll be totally honest. I had a feeling this was going to happen. I'm a bit half and half. To be honest with you, I would have preferred if we tried to start from again with likes of maybe John Terry, as he, the assistant manager from Villa, being confirmed with Craig Shakespeare last night. So I don't know what's happening with John Terry there. Maybe even... people probably think I'm mad, but even maybe Steven Gerrard, the likes of him. I know Bournemouth's version of Gary Neville was talking about him. Yeah. So be interesting to see what Kirk says later. I know he's not overly happy, or Jamie Carragher, let's see what he says. But from Chris Kamara's point of view, Bournemouth are back in training from the 17th, so over a week away until they're back in training. Jason Tindall knows the guys. He knows he's probably going to have an idea on who he's going to keep and who he's going to want to get rid of. Now, to me, he needs to talk to every single one of them players and has an interview and be like, do you want to work hard, or you might as well just go? Because that's how he's going to have to play this. If we're going to get back into the top flight of English football, he's going to have to sort something out. Now, I've got a few notes down here. So you look at Simon Francis, club skipper, unbelievable experience. I spoke to him about 2 months before Okay, very positive. Thinks he's bouncing back from his injury. I'm not being rude. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's not. But he brings that leadership quality. Is that what we need? Is it not? Again, Charlie Daniels bringing leadership. Been with us since League One. That's a huge amount of time. We're not just talking 1 or 2 seasons. We're talking year. You know, they're massive factors of AFC Bournemouth. You look at even people like Andrew Sermon. Now, I'm not a massive fan by any chance, but in the Championship, could he be one of our key players? You know, with the budget that we're going to receive in the going down to the Championship, we need to be realistic. We might have to play people like Solanke, Sermon, maybe if depending on the other situation. If Kelly goes, maybe play Daniel, maybe play Francis. Now that might sound very negative, but we might not have much option. You know, the transfer budget's not going to be brilliant, even though we are probably going to lose quite a few. So you know that might give us a bit of money to rebuild. But
JT though, obviously the focus on this chat, you know, is on JT, and is he the man, you know, to get those players playing?
Yeah, sorry, I went a bit off subject, as always, me talking for England. But yeah, 18. We got to remember that he's been part of this team since 1998, the year I was born myself. So he was a player since 1998, and in 18 years he has been part of AFC Bournemouth as a player and a coach. So maybe, you know, we got to give him a chance. You know, I've seen people's views on Twitter, like most people have this afternoon, and you know, yes, I'm not going to scrutinise him. You know, if it takes 6 months and he's finding his feet, then maybe we can comment after that. But I'm not going to say he's rubbish until we tried it, because why put him down to begin with? He's going to know what's expected, and he's going to know that he's going to try everything he can to get AFC Bournemouth back into the Premier League. Now, he's got a massive challenge on his hand, but reading that statement I read about 5 to 10 minutes ago, that is a very positive statement, and I hate to say this, Eddie's done wonders for our club, but Eddie was mentally tired. We could all see that. He was out playing tennis, and someone said thank you to him the other day. I think it was over in Paul, where he lives. Eddie obviously knackered and needs a break. He might come back to Bournemouth. He might go somewhere else in the future. But we need to concentrate on one thing, and that is that Jason Tindall is the new manager of AFC Bournemouth for 3 years, agreed at 2 o'clock today on the 8th of August, 2020.
Yeah, it's a fact that we can't change. He's not going to suddenly change who the manager is now, is he? So we've got to accept who's been given the job. So we've got to get behind him.
We do.
One of the important things is that JT, one of the questions is, has he got the ability to galvanise certain voices in the dressing room that may have gone a little bit quiet? I think we can't underestimate the significance of Eddie, but as we came through the leagues, there was a very strong structure within the dressing room of characters, whether that was Matt Ritchie or Tommy Elphick or various others like that, and they galvanised the unit on the pitch. And I think through these difficult times, there have been elements where that's been missing. I think what JT can do is he can galvanise that vocal side and passion within certain players. So from a positive level, if we're going to keep the same structure, he is the right guy, I believe, that can galvanise those long-standing vocal entities and players within the squad, and the younger players will need to have that in order for it to work. So I think from that perspective and his relationship with those players, he is the right appointment. If we're looking long term, you know, further down the line, we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, I think it is based on the alternatives.
Yeah. Brilliant. Simon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to free some spots because everyone on chat is saying we can't get in. Thank you very much, Simon. Really appreciate it. Morgan, I'll let you go as well for now, but come back later on because we'll still be online. And Paul Kenwood as well. Thank you very much for coming on. If you want to come back later, you certainly can. That's Paul Kenwood there, of course, podcast regular. Right. Okay. John's with us as well as Rich Neal. Hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. John, I'll come to you first. How you doing? What's your reaction to the appointment?
Hi, yeah, just thought I'd introduce myself. Yeah, I'm John. Very new to Bournemouth AFC. Only really started supporting you guys in the lockdown, really. Just got the football on the TV. I live in Bournemouth. I'm a student. I'm a physiotherapy student. And yeah, just started watching the football. Got my friend into Bournemouth as well. And I realised we've come on board at a time where obviously Bournemouth haven't really been at their best. But no, we've thoroughly enjoyed the journey. At first, I must admit, I was a bit Palace, Newcastle. This isn't looking great. But then stuck with it. The Man U game came. I fell in love with Stanislas when he scored that goal. I was like, yeah,
Hero.
he's a man. Yeah. And I mean, I've been watching your podcasts a lot, and yeah, I agree. From what I've seen, yeah, I would say he's been the best player since they've come back.
If we can retain him, I'd be more than happy. My goodness.
Yeah, I was going to ask your opinion. Do you think Bournemouth will keep Stanislas?
Yeah, I think so. He's not one of those names that constantly gets banded about as being one that could potentially leave. Whereas you hear murmurings of other players like Rico, obviously Callum Wilson, Josh King, even Jefferson Lerma. But I think he'll stay. And he's a person that also knows JT well through his time at Burnley and Bournemouth as well. So I've got a feeling he will stay. He loves being on the South Coast, and it's we've got to also appreciate the geography of where we live is also a tremendous pull as well. Not all players are worried about lining their pockets like a certain wee man. Rich Neal is here. What we do in the meantime, Rich, I'm going to bring in Ben Phillips as well. Vin is standing by. So Vin, we're going to bring you in. Louis, Kirk, Dan, David Cordell, Craig, we'll all bring you in. If you can't get in now, try again a bit later on, because we're going to be here for quite a while. Must again apologise for the issues at the start of the show. I've just been checking. StreamYard did have various issues with their connection, but it's all good now, isn't it? Rich, are you feeling all good or slightly disappointed this evening?
I'm feeling good, and my thoughts of it are similar to some of the others. Personally, I know everyone has a different opinion. Personally, I don't think you can slate someone until they've actually done the job that you're going to then slate or not. Because he has been assistant manager, but he hasn't been the manager. So you can't tell how much or how little influence he had in it. So I think everyone should let him give it a go. Keep the jury out and don't try and slate the man before he's even literally come back, done any games at all or anything. So
can I just say, I think a huge positive is the fact that it is internal, isn't it? So like he knows those players from what I've kind of heard about him. I mean, he's got that experience with them.
You could argue, I mean, some people are saying, well, Howe left, he heralded a new direction, yet we've got a person that's been part of the old direction for goodness knows how many years. I think people's reservations are what realistically can he bring, but the fact is we simply don't know. Yet like I said in the intro, people are getting on his back before he's even started. But I can see why they're saying it, because there's no experience there, and there are names that were available that could have done a good job. But when you bring in a manager, you're obviously bringing in their right hand man, their coaches or whatever, and you say, that's all right. And you sort of think, if all goes wrong for them, you're then having to sack 4 or 5 people at tremendous cost. Whereas JT, I presume, is going to be the cheaper way to go about things. So whilst I'm sure footballing decisions did, play a part in Maxim and Neil Blake's decisions and Richard Hughes or whoever else it was, I'm pretty certain that the financial side of things was also quite a massive thing.
Sam, if you look at the flip side of this, though, okay, if they brought in someone unknown, they brought all their staff with them. So basically, it was Eddie, JT, and all the backroom staff that went.
Yeah.
What would people be saying then? Would they be saying, "Oh, great fresh start," or would they be saying, "Oh, no, it's not going to be the Bournemouth way. It's not going to lose its identity. It's a small club, etc." So, I just think give him a go. Let the man give it a good crack, and go from there. Really.
See what happens. Rich, thank you so much. There are so many people willing to get in the room, so if you want to come back later on, feel free. But thank you very much for now, and also John. Appreciate it very much, mate. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask? Yeah. I remember. I think it was you, Sam. You joked about next year if we get promoted again. Yeah. You said Eddie could be like Tyndall's right hand man.
Yeah.
Do you think, could you see that actually happening? Is it
No,
actually
I don't think the dynamic would work that way.
I think Eddie would kind of like that, would he?
You know what? I suppose my worry, more than anything, in terms of the dream team, if you were to call them that, is if Eddie Howe was to get a new job and we maybe were doing okay, or maybe quite well. Probably more so if we were doing well and pushing for playoffs. Obviously, Jason Tindall's market value would be a lot higher, and his gravitas as a manager, as a number one, would be higher. Maybe Eddie would be like, you know what, this guy would be fantastic to work with me again. I'm just going to pluck him out from AFC Bournemouth, but I don't think Eddie would do that. I think and how long Eddie's break is going to be, we don't know. But it's a situation.
It's a great opportunity for Jason Tindall to put himself in the limelight. And if the year doesn't go to plan, perhaps that could be an option where Eddie comes back if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And then, but no, I'm thoroughly enjoying the journey. So thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah,
Cheers.
John, thank you
Thanks,
very much. Appreciate that, mate. And we've got a number of Kate in chat. We'd love to have you on, but the studio is often full. Louis will bring in shortly for a very quick opinion. However, we can see Kirk and Tom standing by. Two very different standpoints, actually. Most people have been for it so far, but we'll bring in Kirk, maybe the yang to our yin. But Ben Phillips is here with me as well. Ben, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to next season, seeing what JT's like.
And what? So you're optimistic then, not underwhelmed like a few people seem to be.
Now, I'm happy that they've appointed someone within the club that knows the players and will know how most of them play, and he kind of gets along with them. And there's already some sort of connection there, and I think that could be a big thing to next season for us pushing for a promotion back to the Premier League. And I think he could be a really good manager if he gets maybe the funds and the right attitude from the players. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And speaking of the funds, I mean, obviously you sold Nathan Ake for 41. Callum Wilson and Josh King are expected to go. Do you think he will get some funds?
I think he will. I think if we could get a few decent higher end championship players, then that would be quite good, because I think we need a few players to kind of freshen up the squad a bit, because obviously we didn't really get along last season. So yeah, if we even get maybe 35 million, maybe 40, I don't know if that is possible. But yeah, we can maybe get 10 million players who want to work for the club and they want to really do well. And yeah, I think we could hopefully get promoted.
I think for me, in a way, it's nice to be able to start a season without pessimism. And in the Premier League, it was all about treading water. And many fans, when we were in the Championship, were thinking, right, this is our chance to, challenge. But people's optimism levels dropped as soon as, Jason Tindall's name was mentioned. But do you think we're comparing him to Eddie Howe too much? Because Eddie Howe was godlike, wasn't he, really? Albeit not in his last season and a bit, you could say. But I think people are expecting JT to hit the ground running like Eddie did. But he's almost got that pressure that he has to, hasn't he? Given the league we're in, it's not like we're starting from League One. We're in the Championship. There is one team that's on -12. Thank God for that. So there's two teams that. Well, I mean, not saying that Sheffield Wednesday will get relegated. We've done a lot better. -17 and all that. What would be failure and what would be success for you on this season? And at what point will the board be thinking, yeah, we might need to switch it up for the following season?
I think failure will be not being able to reach the playoffs, and I think success would be automatic promotion, or at least like getting up from the playoffs. And I think, say by January, if say we're 9th and we're not doing too well for our standards, I think we would maybe have to look at another manager and just see if someone who maybe isn't connected with the club could be the answer to our questions about everything really.
Yeah, fair play. Ben, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on. We're going to bring in some more
That's
faces as well. Appreciate that, buddy. So yeah, Kirk and Tom are standing by. We're going to bring them in together. Firstly, I'm going to bring in Louis and also DC in Washington, David Cordell there, and also Vin as well. We can't see you, but we might be able to hear you if you unmute your mic. If there's no response for a while, we may just get rid. Yeah, we're going to get rid. Yeah, Gwyn is here as well. So, Louis, thoughts? JT in charge for Championship AFC Bournemouth. Is that all right?
Yeah, I think it's not an exciting appointment as such, but I think given the fact that we've got such a short time between the seasons, I think rather than bring in a new manager and they bring their staff in and have to get settled and effectively start from scratch, we have JT who understands Eddie and his philosophy, and although he'll take it, he'll put his own stamp on it. At least he has a good idea about what the players are like. So he likes them, they like him. So he can keep to the philosophy to some extent, and we should be all right in the Championship as long as we don't have to sell too many players.
Do you think it's a worry though? Do you think it's a worry though, Louis? I mean, Eddie Howe is a big name manager. He's like, he is, in the Championship, billboard level. You've got players from Premier League clubs who may be not hitting the grade, or you've got players from even the Championship in League One who are thinking, I'm looking for another club. I love the way Bournemouth play, and I've heard so many good things about Eddie Howe. What a manager to play for. He's going to be absolutely superb. He is going to improve me as a player. He sees what he's done to players like Harry Arter, Ryan Fraser, albeit he's a bit of a weasel now, and players like that. Now, who's this big name person that we've got anymore? Oh, it's his assistant from last time. It must be underwhelming for the players as well, maybe.
Yeah, to an extent, but at least if it's an internal appointment and someone who actually knows, has connection to Eddie Howe, although you're never going to get someone as incredible as him. At least he's, to some extent, can play the same sort of way, I'd hope. So.
Yeah, Gwyn, not sure if you can hear us okay. Your camera's not on your face at the moment, but fingers crossed we might be able to see you very soon. Gwyn, how are you feeling about JT?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. How are you feeling?
You there?
Yeah, I am there. But anyway, we'll do that another time. Right, David Cordell, how are you?
I'm all right. Amazing live broadcast, right? The advantages of it.
Mate, I'm having a mare tonight. Hopefully, this isn't a metaphor for JT's reign. I really hope not. All the stuff under Eddie was smooth as you like, but as soon as JT's announced, it goes to pot. Connection issues for the first 5 minutes, and then stuff like that. But anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I think one of the advantages of having JT as the manager will be, I think it'll be easier to keep some of the players. So, and as everybody has also mentioned, having the short off season, it would be really hard to get somebody new in who would impose their stamp on the club. But a couple of points I want to make. One was, I don't know if you heard the Willows interview on the Solent this afternoon, but yeah. That was kind of fascinating. I mean, I definitely think, again, there are things behind the scenes that we don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. But Willow was just hinting at some things that I thought were interesting. The other thing that made me laugh was Harry Redknapp's quote today, where he said, when you're the coach, sorry, I've just lost it. It says something, when you're the coach, everybody loves you. When you start picking the team and leaving people out, the wives hate you, the kids hate you. It's a different ball game. And I just wonder, Jason has this image of being one of the lads, being one of the player, close to the players. I think when you're a manager, that's a really different mindset. And I wonder whether Jason has that ability to move from being part of the link between the coaching staff and the playing staff and being the manager. Because at the manager, the buck stops with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do agree with that. It's going to be an interesting time. It really is. And for me, it's quite absorbing. And by the way, people on chat, if you want to come in, you can. By the way, if you come on chat, please keep your camera still because I'm getting drunk looking at people's ceilings or you're moving around the house. Just put your phone or laptop in one room, stop walking about, and then I will bring you in. But at the moment, when you kind of move around, I find it very difficult. I'm having beers as it is. It's almost like tenfold. So give me a chance, guys. Vin, hopefully we'll be able to hear you now. Hello, buddy.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello, mate. Hello, mate. You right?
Yeah, I'm alright. How are you doing tonight?
Not too bad. You've been. I can't see you, but we can hear you, and I know that you've been on the podcast previously outside the stadium. I've chatted to you. How are you feeling today?
Oh yeah, I feel like we could have made a more like better manager, because I think the players might feel like we're just keeping the same strat as what Eddie had, personally.
Yeah, I mean, out of the external names that were mentioned for other names that we could bring in, which ones made you lick your lips in terms of thinking, oh, I would love them at Dean Court?
I think like Harry Redknapp, even some people wouldn't probably not agree with me. I think Harry Redknapp would do a job personally at Bournemouth. And he's done it at a lot of other clubs. He got like Tottenham to top 4, and no one thought they would ever do that. He's done it in other clubs, and I thought if he came to Bournemouth, he would definitely get us promoted straight back to the Premier League.
Do you think he's a bit too old though, and he's a bit more, he likes to concentrate on the media and being in the media limelight? Is football his thing still?
I mean, like if you look at like what West Ham, they got David Moyes. That was he kept them up. I think we could have got that with like Harry Redknapp. Like he would have probably played crap football, but he would have got us promoted. I think personally.
Yeah. Well, superb. I think some excellent opinions there. What's your hope for this season, Vin?
I think I'm not automatic promotion, obviously. I think that's top. We have the players in our team definitely to, if we're not fighting for at least like fourth in like Christmas, I think we got to sack JT personally if we're not fighting for at least automatic promotion in Christmas.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people will be hoping that the board is as cutthroat as you are, Vin. Vin, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it. Any closing words from you, Louis? What are your hopes for this season?
Well, I think I'm thinking pretty much I'd be pleased if we are at least pushing for playoffs. As in, it's hard coming back down to the Championship, having Eddie leaving. We just need to steady the ship, and then next season I'd expect us to get at least playoffs, and then see where we go from there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Louis, coming on. Do come on another show very soon. Dan, I can see your ceiling again on the chat. So as much as your lampshade looks lovely, I'm going to have to take you out and bring someone else in. Kirk and Tom are standing by, but new face is Kate. Kate, can you see us and hear us okay?
Hello, Sam.
How are you?
Yeah, tonight the news to me has blown me well away about JT. Oh my God.
So you're a big fan of JT then?
Yes, I have got a Bournemouth tattoo.
Yeah, good girl. That's what I like to see. Excellent stuff. Amazing. Oh, look at that. Superb. So, JT, you think he can do well next season for us?
Yeah, I personally think he can, because for me, I know Eddie. If Eddie can do it, so can he. Got every faith in him and the boys. And Ake's gone, but we'll get more players in to to replace him.
Yeah.
And then to build the squad up, and I reckon by next season we'll be back in the Premier League.
When you see JT doing his interviews on AFC TV and in the media, he's not as well spoken as Eddie is. Possibly not a good ambassador for the club like Eddie is, because when you see Eddie talk, he's very well spoken, he's very learned, he's very intelligent.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but JT's not those things. Does that really matter? Does the way his media persona comes across actually, does that make any difference at all?
No matter. He'll try his best, whether he fails or he doesn't. I'm still going to support Bournemouth no matter what.
Kate.
I'm Bournemouth through and through.
Brilliant. Kate, that's what I like to hear. That's Kate there. Thank you very much for coming on. Kirk and Tom Jordan is here. It's been a crazy one tonight. I've got to say, boys. And you know what? we like getting the mix of people in. So if you want to take part, it's afcbpodcast.com/take part. Another regular face is Craig Beasley, who's just come in as well.
Hello, guys. You all right?
Yeah, you're right.
Kirk,
Yeah, all good, mate.
it's like the dream team from Wednesday night back again, isn't it? Kirk, amongst all the positivity, I say positivity, but a good feeling from Cherries fans. You're someone that on Twitter over the last week or so has voiced, I would say, some displeasure about JT's potential appointment, and today it was confirmed. And for you, is it like the nail in the coffin, or can you be optimistic? Let me know your thoughts about how you're feeling.
I know I'm going to be controversial. I just want everyone to know before I give my raw opinions is that I really do want JT to do really well. I hope I can come on here in 6 months' time and he's been really successful and I can go, I was wrong about everything. The club got it right. That's what I really want. So this is nothing personal to JT. It's more of a disappointment from the club because I think from the 5 years in the Premier League, we're in a really good place to be a bit braver, is what I'd probably say. I have my reservations on JT to a point where I think, does it concern me that signing players will be difficult? Because I'll be honest with you, the attraction was always signing for Eddie, not for Jason Tindall. And I do worry that we might not be able to pill off any type of marquee championship players to help us out. I think it came down to two categories, didn't it? It's a financial and business reason in why they chose the decision, and then it came down to a footballing decision, and I think the footballing decision was way down the pecking order. In my opinion, the club roars on a hiding to nothing. Okay, now if they go for a big marquee manager or someone who's looking to make a name for themselves, let's use John Terry for an example, and it doesn't work, the fans will get on the board's back, okay, and said you shouldn't have done that, you should have kept it in house. Okay, if they go for Jason Tindall and he's out of his depth and we're in the bottom, we're in the relegation zone come January, the fans will turn around and say we should have gone for someone big, or maybe gone for someone safe like Chris Hughton, Nigel Pearson. And I think they think if it doesn't work, they're on a hiding to nothing. So is it best just saving a few quid in case that happens?
Tom Jordan, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy, to be fair. I can understand both sides of it. I think for me, I mean, you mentioned there, which I agree, the pull that Eddie Howe had getting players in, but you're not telling me that people want to sign for Chris Hughton or want to sign for Nigel Pearson. So we wouldn't have got that with anyone. So
sorry,
do you know what I mean?
They're not my two people. I'd never employ them. I wanted someone like Terry or Steven Gerrard. So,
but those names are pie in the sky, Kirk. Surely Stevie G. I mean, there are people, including yourself, that are almost saying that like a move to Bournemouth is almost a sideways move to Rangers. Come on, they're bloody massive.
I mean,
I don't agree with that.
The discussion for Steven Gerrard, it's probably going to be too long for me to go on to it, but I don't believe you can't tell me the SPL's better than the Championship. I mean, there's two teams in that league.
I can tell you that going to Wickham is not as exciting as going to play in the Champions League and the Europa League. I can tell you that.
No, but I mean, I've never compared Bournemouth to Rangers as a club. Never done that. What I've said is the task on a CV, if Gerrard was to be a success, will always look better if he was to get Bournemouth up than if he was to finish first or second in the SPL, in my opinion. Anyone can.
Whoever, when you've got Rangers on your CV and you've got Bournemouth on your CV, Bournemouth looks better than Rangers.
I've got to agree, to be honest.
The promotion, sorry, Craig, the job of getting Bournemouth back into the Premier League is 100 times better than finishing second for Rangers. I mean, my man, the Steven Gerrard one was a sort of punt last week when we got the Eddie Howe news. I mean, as the weeks moved on, John Terry was my one. Now, for me, what John Terry would give you is he's ready to take that next stage. Okay, he would be like your Lampard. Okay, so he would come in. I think what you get with John Terry is you attract players that are potentially like your Phil Fodens at Man City, not Phil Fodens, but players like that. So your young players at Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, they will all want to play for John Terry, not because of what he's done as a manager, but as he was a world name in football. Okay, so we could attract loan players that could potentially help us get promoted. John Terry will also keep you in the limelight. We would have more games on TV with John Terry. Okay, I'm not saying it would work, but he would have the drive and passion to make it happen, and he would want to get a bigger job in about 3 years' time. So he would make sure he does everything right to do exactly what Lampard did. The other concern I have with Jason Tindall is it doesn't feel right him staying. Eddie's gone. I feel like you might laugh at this, but it feels like I've had the best strawberries and cream for 10 years. And my wife last Saturday told me I'm no longer having strawberries, I'm only having cream. And it just doesn't taste right and it just doesn't feel right. And that's what I feel like. It feels like we should now be looking. We're in a place where we could probably take a risk. It is a risk, but we could take a brave stance, go for a John Terry, okay, and see what happens. If, for example, Jason Tindall fails and come December we're in the bottom three, we ain't touching getting anyone like that. We're now looking at managers lower than Jason Tindall, because the attraction's still up there for Bournemouth. We've only just been relegated. We've got a decent team. We've got a nice beach. If we're in the bottom three come January, people like John Terry, people like Scott Parker, people like, managers on that sort of level would never be interested, where I think we would still have that sort of appeal now. Sorry, it's a bit long-winded, but I'm trying to get my point across.
No, we had a chat earlier on, didn't we, Kirk? And I do agree with you on JT. Jace is a lovely guy. Don't get me wrong. However, he's always been in number two. His time at Weymouth wasn't brilliant. I know he's had a couple of coaching badges since then. However, what you've got to look at as well is what other managers have done, who are big names. Now, it's no secret to everybody that, I was born and bred in Reading. And of course, Jaap Stam went there. So a massive, massive name. And I've got to be honest, he did a decent job in the first year there, but the wheels fell off quite quickly. He was riding I think it was Steve Clarke, wasn't it? Who was there beforehand. He was riding his wave, and personally, yeah, I do agree with you, Kirk, that we won't be able to attract that sort of big name, if we are in the bottom three, which I don't think we would be under JT. I think he will do a decent job. I am worried that if he's got the minerals to get us out of the Championship and into Premier League again, and it's a gamble whichever way you look at it. So you bring in a big name like Steven Gerrard, and I do agree with you that the Bournemouth job is bigger than the Rangers job in terms of the sort of teams you're up against, where you want to go. Let's be honest, Rangers, apart from Celtic, who do they play? Hamilton Academical, Ross County. These sort of teams that they should be wiping the floor with anyway.
By Leverkusen the other night.
Okay. They do go into the Champions League. They do go into the Europa League, but at the same time, they haven't got any competition whatsoever. For those top two positions. So I do believe, we are a bigger prospect, because if, say, for example, Gerrard comes on board, Terry comes on board, takes us into the Premier League, they're now up against Man United, Man City, Liverpool, those sort of teams that we've been up against for the last 5 seasons.
When you look at the teams in the Championship, there are historically relatively big teams, but they're not, they're big in fan base size, but they're not very good anymore because they've been in the Championship for a long, long time. So I know we're talking about, like your Aberdeens, your Hearts, your Hibs, etc., almost disparagingly, but they, could you say they're no worse than your Derbies and your Nottingham Forest that haven't been able to get out of the second tier for God knows how long?
Well, I think there's a lot of teams that will be in trouble next season. So I had a chat with Kirk about this as well the other day. So we're talking the likes of, Sheffield Wednesday are already on minus 12 points. I believe Derby and Reading also under the same embargo. They're also going to be investigated for selling their grounds. So it could well be that we'll have 3 teams on minus 12 points from the very start. You know, I don't know if that's going to happen. Of course, I think there's a little bit of corruptness in the EFL. Dare I say that? You know, it's a bit of a dodgy thing to say, but I think there is a little bit of corruptness in the EFL. You know, why have those 2 teams not being investigated? Sheffield Wednesday have been deducted points. Why were Sheffield Wednesday deducted points for the following season, but Wigan were relegated last season for something that I believe happened even after? I think when did it happen, that Wigan situation?
Yeah, not sure. Yeah, not sure.
So there's a lot of question marks, but then again, there's a lot of teams as well that in there. So apart from those 3 who are going to struggle, we're talking about the Lutons, the Barnsleys. So I don't think we'll be anywhere down there. I think we'll probably be pushing for the top. But at the same time, I do agree with Kirk that, you know, if we do get off to a poor start and they decide, right, okay, JT wasn't the right man for the job, are we going to be able to attract, you know, the likes of Terry, Gerrard? You know, I think Gerrard has done a very, very good job at Rangers, but then again, what is he up against? You know, Hamilton Academical, Motherwell, you know, Hearts. They're teams that I think would struggle in the Championship themselves.
I mean, you know, they are, of course, JT and Steve Gerrard, as you say, that, you know, they are, you know, footballing names, you know, billboard names that might attract the players. But will they be getting Bournemouth playing, you know, better than someone who knows how we can play, Kirk?
What we've got to get our heads around is Eddie is a one-off, and that's what I feel. I feel we're in a place now where we can almost think, can we try something different? You know, Tindall's gone in there and said, look, I'm not going to break up everything that we've done, but I'm going to implement my ideas. I think we're in an opportunity where we've still got a good side. We've only lost Ake at this point. Okay. We've only been relegated. If someone like John Terry came in, he could probably convince like of Rambo and Kelly and that to go, look, we're going to have a really good go at this. For me, we're in an opportunity where this is still an appealing job. This job could not be appealing in about 6 months' time. And that's my concern. When I said earlier on Twitter that we've missed a trick, is that if JT fails, and I don't want him to fail, I want him to prove me wrong. And it's a hypothetical question that we're going to be in the bottom 3, but we've got to take the worst case scenario. What we've done here is Eddie's created a bit of a problem. As much as he's a god and he's a legend to us, he's created a problem over 10 years, hasn't he? He's made it very difficult to us now to employ anyone externally because of all his mates and ex-players that are at the club now. That's what he's done. I mean, what are we saying? Are we saying that we can never go internally because we're never going to have enough time to ship too many people out to bring someone in? That's what we're pretty much saying. You know, the two challenges I've had today is we haven't got enough time. We've only got 5 weeks until the season starts. I'm not having that. It doesn't matter when you change it. You're not having it. It doesn't matter when you change your manager. It's never a good time. You know, at the end of the day, if you're fighting relegation in the bottom 3, it's never a good time to bring someone in, you know. But what we do, we have to bring someone in internally because we'd have to ship too many people out. Well, that's never going to change. So at the end of the day, that for me doesn't stand up. You know, and at the end of the day, I just think we've missed a trick. We've had an opportunity to bring someone in with fresh ideas, a new outlook, you know, and I'm not saying it's going to work, but they've gone for the state. They've gone for the safe option because they're like, if it doesn't work, we're going to get flack from the fans. If it doesn't work with JT, we're going to get flack from the fans. So let's just go for the option that saves us a bucket loads of money. That's how I feel about it.
I do completely agree with you there, Kirk, because at the end of the day, those Terry, Gerrard would get those players working. They were model professionals of players. They may be unproven as managers, but then that gives them that impetus. Let's look at what Frank Lampard did at Derby. A couple of seasons
Gone from
ago.
6th to 6th.
Yeah, but at the same time, he got those players working as a team.
And they only missed out on the playoffs.
But but at the same time, I think that, if we had a big name, it would probably keep those players there. It's a little bit different, say, for example, John Terry or Gerrard. Gerrard especially, I think Gerrard was probably my pick. If I was going to go externally, it was either Gerrard or Houghton. And the only reason why I say Houghton is the job he did at Brighton. I think, they would have had a little bit more about them and be a bit more tempted. At the moment, it's a case of continuity, but is continuity going to be, the right thing to do? He might not be. Eddie's not going to be there. Eddie's not going to be there. So who's JT's number 2? Is it going to be Fletch?
Purchased by this.
Yeah, to be honest, that makes sense.
That's a silver lining for me.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I certainly take your points, but are you saying that there's enough time? That there would be enough time to bring in a new name today, enough to hit the ground running at the start of the season?
They're all professionals. I mean, John Terry's a professional in the football game. Anyone who comes in will be ready, and John Terry would probably not sleep for a week to make sure he's ready. The John Terry's the easy one. Don't get me wrong. I don't want people to think I'm deluded. To convince Steven Gerrard to come to us would be a lot harder. I think if you had the right negotiations, you could probably convince him that this is a bigger task and will look better on his CV if you got Bournemouth promoted. But it's a bit more challenging. John Terry is easy. Yeah. John Terry wants to make the next step. Not only that, John Terry doesn't bring 5 guys with him, by the way, because he was an assistant at Aston Villa. He may bring 1 or 2. So where we're talking about shipping out all of Eddie's stuff, and we've also got to remember that I know Eddie's look at broken man. I'm convinced Eddie's going to be back in the game within 6 months, right? He wants to get to the top that he can get to within his career. He's still got 20 odd years left in the game. He's going to become England manager, in my opinion, at some point. Those guys, the reason the backroom staff hasn't been decided yet is because they're probably talking to Eddie to see if he's got another job lined up in 3 months. For all we know, half of that backroom staff that Eddie had last year might not be on Jason Tindall's list next week. Now, the John Terry one, for me, you're not really disrupting a lot, because John Terry might bring the odd player that he used to play with, 1 or 2, but they could probably say, look, John Terry, we want to give you a chance, but we want to keep the nucleus of what we have and what Eddie had to start with. And then maybe you transform everything over time. Steven Gerrard will bring in 10 guys.
What's the fascination with John Terry specifically, though, given that he hasn't managed, he's only been assistant manager for a year or so, and he's achieved very little, arguably a lot less than Jason Tindall has as an assistant manager, you could say.
I think, so to be honest, with
just
John
a
Terry,
big name.
I think. Sorry. You
go, Craig. But can I pick off that point as well?
That's absolutely fine. So I think JT wants to prove himself. He's not going to be as loyal as Eddie was to our football club, and he's not a fan of our football club. At the end of the day, that's a be all and end all. However, at the same time, he wants to prove himself. He will want to do a good job. I do agree with Kirk that he wouldn't bring in everybody, but personally, there could be a lot of disruption halfway through the season, because I do agree with Kirk that Eddie will be picked up. I think personally, the 2 places which Eddie would probably go to is either West Ham, when they get sick of Moyes, which no doubt they probably will do, or the other job is Everton. And of course, Eddie was an Everton fan as a kid, and I know that there was a lot of talk when he went to Burnley that his wife didn't like it there, and so on and so forth. However, that's effectively the club he supported as a kid. He might see it as an honour, managing that football club, and therefore he would probably come back in and take a lot of his staff with him. At which point, even who's to say that Eddie won't come in and say, "Look, JT, I'm manager of Everton now. I can put you on this amount. Would you come and join me?" And JT might go, "Well, I'm the manager of Bournemouth, but at the same time, Everton are paying this amount," and he might jump at the opportunity. After our last game of the season, I don't know why he'd want to bloody manage Everton, because he'd have a hell of a job there. But at the same time, it's one of those. So in a way, yes, I do agree completely with Kirk that JT would have been a good appointment. I know. Well, what's your view on it, Tom? Because I know that you're against it, mate. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get all your points and everyone's opinions valid. It's been a lot of maybes, a lot of might, a lot of Tindall might do this. If we got Terry, we might do this, and he might not bring people with him. Let's talk some facts. We've had one bad season in 10 years.
Yeah.
Why does everyone have this urge of just getting rid of the staff? And we've got an opportunity to start afresh. Why? We've been doing unbelievable for 10 years. We've had one bad season. Why have we got this obsession of starting afresh? Why does everyone want... Why are we talking about John Terry? He's done nothing as a manager, no more than Jason Tindall. Why? I don't understand. When Eddie Howe come in, he never managed anyone. We were the foot.
It's a gamble wherever you go, to be perfectly honest.
But it's a gamble, but everyone's talking about, we had such a good opportunity to start afresh. Why would you want to tear up everything that we've done in 10 years? Makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I don't think you need to
Don't get me wrong. I really like Jason as a person. I think, he's a good coach. It's just really the direction that the club want to go in, and the sort of impetus that, and what sort of feeling he'd bring to the players that we've already got.
The club are looking at it, and the club are going, right, I'm not going to fight. We've done unbelievable for 10 years. Eddie's decided to walk away. We're gutted. Right. The worst thing we can do now, after all that success, is just start afresh. We need to... Right, Jason, do you fancy it? Right, let's have an interview with Jason. Right, Jason, he's saying all the right things. He can take over. He knows all the players. All the players are going to be happy. It's going to be an easy transition. Forget about COVID and a quick turnaround. It's going to be an easy transition for the players. They know Jason. They trust Jason. They got all the staff they want. We don't have to do anything else. And we can carry on with, apart from last season, an unbelievable amount of success for this football club. Why anyone would think, let's go and grab John Terry, who's a coach at Aston Villa, who's never managed in his life, and let's bring him on and bring in whoever you want, whether it's 5 people, 10 people, 2 people. Why would we want to rip up what we've got now? I don't understand why anyone.
Here's a golden question as well. Do you reckon that Eddie's had a say on it as well?
On the next manager? Don't know, never here nor there. I just think if I was the owner of Bournemouth for the last 10 years and Eddie had said he wants some time away, wants to leave, whatever, start something new, I'd be thinking, please, Jason, will you fancy it? Because I don't want to have to start again. And because at the end of the day, you get a new manager and you could say they might not want to bring it. They might be happy with some of the stuff, but they're going to have brand new stuff. All the players have to buy into that. He might not like. Certain players want to make their own philosophy. I want to stick with what we've been doing for 10 years personally. I'm only 28, but I've had a season ticket since I was 7, 8.
Yeah.
And I know that the last 10 years have been absolutely incredible. And I want to, when we got relegated, I was gutted. Please don't lose Eddie. Then we lost Eddie. Please don't lose Eddie more. We haven't. I'm happy.
Tom,
to be honest, agree.
Yeah, go on.
Tom, question for you. Yeah. How many games in before when, and it's all hypothetical, like we say, it may be, might do well, he might not do well. But how many games in after he hasn't won a game? Is he going to start being compared to Eddie, and the fans are going to start saying maybe he's not up to the job?
Yeah, I think
because he's going to get compared to Eddie. That's my point. That's my point. Is we're never going to get. I think we're less going to get away from Eddie. I think the Eddie question will always come up more. Keep having Jason Tindall in charge, in my opinion. It will less come up. I'm not actually saying that we should clear out the staff. So I mean, Sam, you asked about the obsession with John Terry. Okay, it's not an obsession. It's not like I'm his biggest fan or anything like that. I mean, let's remove the politics, because everyone makes mistakes. Because I know I've had that on Twitter this week about politics behind John Terry. For me, we don't need to rip up everything. This is my point. John Terry is not going to want to come to Bournemouth for 10 years, right? John Terry will be looking at Bournemouth as a 3 to 5 year project for him to increase his CV and get a bigger job, right? For me, you convince John Terry to come in, because what John Terry gives you is that player power to bring better players in. He keeps the club in the limelight, and I guarantee we would have more matches on TV with John Terry than Jason Tindall, in my opinion. Okay?
Where's the long-term vision with John Terry in charge, that someone who's going to leave the club and doesn't necessarily have the drive to have I mean, we're talking about bricks and mortar, of course.
Yeah.
There's nothing after Eddie Howe's tenure, so that's the scary position that we're at. But why do you think that John Terry would, be good in that situation?
Here it comes. So, John Terry, you put the contract on the table. We want to offer you the chance to become a manager, because that's what he's looking for now. Stephen Purchase is your number 2. Hopefully, it all works out. Stephen Purchase gets nurtured into the manager's job in 3 to 5 years when John Terry looks for a bigger job. There's your next manager. Because for me, if it's an internal job, I would rather have Stephen Purchase and someone else, because for me it just doesn't feel right having JT without it.
Why didn't we go to Purchase straight away though, Kirk?
No, that's what I just said. I said if it was internal, I would prefer Purchase and someone else rather than JT. This is not a personal attack on JT, by the way. This is probably coming all wrong. At the end of the day, I want him to succeed. I want him to prove me wrong, and I want to come on here in 6 months' time and go, He's done a brilliant job. I'm wrong. The club are right. That's what I want. But for me, I just can't get over Eddie while he's still on the touchline. It don't feel right to me. I would rather have Stephen Purchase, who's only been doing great stuff behind the scenes, and someone else. So if it was Purchase mostly.
We're gonna just part this conversation a little bit, because I do want to get around, and there are people trying to get in. And you know what? This is a really good conversation to be having. John, thank you for your patience, mate. How are you today?
Oh, thank you. I'm good.
Jason Tindall in charge. How are you feeling?
Disappointed. Bit disappointed that he's like the new manager, because he's got experience, but I would say we need someone better. Like, I'm not sure. Like, if we kept Eddie, that'd be perfect for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, but why would keeping hold of if we're talking about, this is what I don't understand. We would like to keep Eddie, but we wouldn't like JT, but they were part of the same footballing philosophy. So surely it's just a case of one or the other.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, not Jason or Eddie. I'm talking about it's either yes to Eddie, yes to JT, or no, I don't want any of them. Let's do something new. Because Kirk, I think Kirk's making his decision based on basically what's happened. Howe's gone, therefore he wants JT to go. I think Kirk wanted to go. I mean, we'll talk. I don't think Kirk, wanted Eddie to go. But what names would have you rather had than JT? Jason Tindall.
I'm not sure. Well, JT.
It's difficult to say.
He'd be perfect for manager, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I mean, to be honest, John, the two choices are between. Do you go with somebody who's inexperienced but want to prove themselves? So the JTs, the Gerrard, even at this level, when he's not playing, managing against one team, in the whole league. Do you want to go with that inexperience, or do you want to go with somebody like Houghton, or do you want to go with somebody, say for example, like, and I shudder when I say this, Allardyce, Pulis.
Ooh.
Do you want to go with somebody like that who? Sam, don't quote me on that. I do not want bloody Allardyce anywhere near this football club.
This bit of video is going out on Twitter tomorrow with that.
Don't. Pulis I could put up with because of his history with the football club, but bloody Allardyce, no way. But do you want, going back to the original point, do you want somebody with that inexperience, wanting to prove themselves at Bournemouth, or do you want to go with somebody that with that experience? What's the right answer?
Oh, both would be good, because someone who wants to prove themselves always starts out as a good manager. Like,
I pick one.
I'm not.
It's John. I mean, what are your optimism levels for next season now? Are has your expectation changed, or go on?
we will definitely get play. I reckon we'll definitely get playoffs. We can't. I'm not. We'll get above mid-table, and we'll try and get automatic promotion. That'll be best for us.
Mate.
That'll be best.
Brilliant.
Yeah, just going back to that.
Mate. Yeah, appreciate having you on, mate. And what I'm going to do quickly, lads, is I'm just going to bring in Reese. Chris is standing by. Tiggs is there. Morgan wants to come back. We're going to try to get as many around as many as we can in the next 5 minutes.
Sam,
Reese.
just very quickly, before you move on, surely the minimum expectation has got to be, in the playoffs. If anything less than that will be a failure.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we'll ask Reese now what he thinks. Reese, hope you're doing well, mate. What's your expectations? What's your minimum hopes for the season now that Jason Tindall's in charge, buddy?
I'm kind of happy about it. In my opinion, what I forgot his name. Someone said in the chat about Jason Tindall being here. Like Jason Tindall, of course, knows everyone in the club. Like the players. Like I'm not saying Callum Wilson and Josh King won't leave, but if Callum Wilson and Josh King are thinking, oh, okay, someone I know, the assistant of Eddie Howe's now the manager, I might want to stay. Like how I'm thinking of this, I'm feeling more positive than negative. Like 70% of me is alright with this decision, but 30% of this decision is against. Like in my opinion, Craig made a couple good points about Steven Gerrard and John Terry becoming in for the manager role, because I think it's Kirk who said this about I can't remember who said it, but if what's his face, John Terry was in, then we'd get more TV time. Like
yes, we would stay in the limelight as a club, I feel.
Yeah, I agree with everyone's points in here, but reason I'm more for Jason Tindall is because I honestly believe, I'm going to sound deluded when I say this, but I honestly believe we can keep Callum Wilson, Josh King. Like I know I'm sounding that deluded, but if you think about it, if you think about it, we've got someone who knows the club back and forth, and like I keep saying, Josh King, Callum Wilson, do they really want to go to like a Newcastle? I know it'd be in the Premier League, and Callum Wilson wants to be in the England setup. But no offense to you, if Callum watches this, there's like Calvert-Lewin, Danny Ings. No one's gonna go in front of them. Like, I'm sorry, Callum, you're gonna have to be like the next Harry Kane or something, because you have no chance of being in the England squad. You might as well try and help us stay up instead of being another Ryan Fraser.
Yeah, Reese, brilliant thoughts there, mate. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep on bringing, because there are still like people hanging around to get in, and there's people trying to get in. It's, these free for alls. I don't know how long we're going to do these for, because this is just a nightmare tonight. Reese, thank you very much for coming in, mate. Come again in about half an hour. Hopefully, it'll have died down by then. And Dan's been standing by. Dan, I apologise very much. Yeah, I know, mate. You've been in and out. The camera was working, wasn't working. It's working now. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I think with the situation with manager, I think he's going to be good, maybe, but he needs more. I think he needed more experience as like a first team manager instead. Because like he's been the number 2, but he hasn't been number 1. Like so, yeah.
Yeah, but Danny Ings is a great striker. Do you get me?
Yeah. Well, he's not Bournemouth. What are you on about?
The
thing is,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know we're rivals and everything, but Danny Ings is a great striker for them, but if Callum Wilson leaves, then we're just buggered, aren't we?
Yeah. With JT though, I know that you say that he's going to be good. There's a lot of positivity about the continuity there, Dan. But how long would you realistically want to give him? Say for example, if we are at the lower end of the league, I don't think we'll be in the bottom 3. I don't think we'll be anywhere near that because of the points that I made earlier on of Sheffield Wednesday, Reading, Derby are in absolute turmoil. But, how long do we give him? Because at the end of the day, the minimum expectation for me is to get us in the playoffs, if not automatic. With the squad, even if we sold Callum and King, the minimum expectation for me is to be competing to get back in the Premier League at the end of the season.
Do we think that we're a bigger club than we are? Because
it's not
we are
that.
the club the size of Plymouth Argyle, aren't we? Really, and we're saying about.
But the squad is a Premier League club squad, if you get understand.
The fact that
I know we've come down and everything.
It's the quality of the squad we've got, really. That's the thing. Is that we've lost Ake, but we've got Lloyd Kelly to replace him. We could lose Callum and King, but we've got Surridge, we've got Solanke. Solanke hopefully would step up. We'll have 41 million to spend. Plus, I think, and I would hope the board would give us that 41 million to strengthen, because the three players that me and Kurt were on about beforehand was Watkins at Brentford, which I think is going to be a bit of a push anyway. Eze, which I think we might.
Eze's class.
He'll go Premier League.
Yeah. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's an absolutely fantastic player to have in the middle. And Puskas at Reading. And Reading need the money. And the thing is I think he would be better suited in our squad to what he is there, because we can play up to him and then, set him up. And I think he'll score absolutely bloody tons of goals for us. So, those three, I'm actually swaying towards saying that Puskas is probably the player that we should get straight in.
Sam?
I suppose. Yeah.
You said, do we think we're bigger than we are?
Mm.
Should we just shut up shop and all deactivate our Twitter accounts? Because we got no chance of building a training ground and a new stadium if that's our mentality, in my opinion.
Do you think we're batting above, going beyond our station when we're assuming we can attract the likes of Steven Gerrard, when I don't think he would touch us with a barge pole?
We have done.
Have we not worked our nuts off for 5 years to try and prove that we deserve to be in the Premier League? For us to come down, be relegated, and go, actually, are we just a temple club?
Tindall, and now we're saying he ain't good enough. Don't give him a chance.
Well, just very quickly, guys. Look at the teams in the Championship. Look at the teams in there. You got Nottingham Forest. You had Leeds in there for tons of years. You earn your right to play in the Premier League, not by how big your stadium is, but
I just want us
how
to be
well you've managed the club. We've managed our club fantastically over the past 10 years to get it from where we was, which was on its arse. Let's be honest, it was on its arse. It was absolutely on its arse to where we were last season. Still,
should we not
if we had gone down,
let's get there maybe.
But had we gone down in the first season,
or get John Terry in,
would you have classed that as a failure? Would you have classed that as a failure if we'd gone down in the first season and gone, right, okay, maybe we wasn't good enough?
Well, it was an achievement to get there in the first place. That's the thing.
Sorry, Dan.
We did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan. Say it again.
I was saying it's an achievement for Bournemouth to get to the Prem in the first place, considering.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Spent 5 years there.
Yeah, we did do. What we're going to do is keep rotating. Ben's standing by as well. Dan, thanks for now. But if you want to come back later on, we'll probably still be here. So really appreciate it. Vin keeps on trying to get back in as well. Vin, you've already been on, so we're trying to keep it fresh. Chris is standing by as well, and Ben's here as well. Mr. Tiggs, though, we'll say hello to you, adding some calm sanity to proceedings this evening. I can't believe. I can't quite believe on the day that we appoint someone that's been a club hero, we're talking about other players as if we should be getting there. I don't know. Sometimes I feel as though we should, pay some respect to the guys that helped us to get there. But I can understand their points of view, equally, that we want to be going for big names. And if the statement of intent from the board is to be believed about getting us back into the Premier League, what better than people like, okay, perhaps not John Terry, but Steven Gerrard, someone that's managed. Well, that's actually managed at a big club, albeit yes, they're playing Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, but John Terry hasn't managed at all. What are your thoughts about JT's appointment?
I think we've got something that's worth protecting, personally, in the way that we have made our way up the leagues, in the way that we have promoted from within with Eddie. I think there was always a plan to give JT his go at this. I genuinely do. I might be sole voice on this, but I really think there was a plan of succession that, when Eddie leaves, when he gets poached by Tottenham, JT was going to fill in. I don't think, with the greatest respect to Jason Tindall, he wanted a chance at management, but I don't think he was going to go and be a number 2 at Tottenham. I think Eddie would have gone somewhere else for that. And I think Eddie will on his next move. I think he knows that. I think Jason knows that. And I think Jason, if he hadn't got the job here, would have gone and managed somewhere else. He would not have joined up with Eddie again. I don't believe. In terms of hand on heart, yeah. Go on.
Hand on heart, I do agree with you, Tony, but that, I think that it now signifies that leaving this football club was Eddie's decision, that he needed a break from the game. That is, he would have probably loved to stay on, but there's only so much, and the amount of pressure there is of being, managing, firstly, a small club in the Premier League, which we are, but it's going to take a lot of toll on somebody. And
and you mentioned the key word there you said to me, which is what I wanted to raise. And I'm, I love Bournemouth, and I always will do. I'm Bournemouth till I die. But at the same time, we are a small club, and we're in terms of, you compare us to the other Championship clubs. We've had this conversation before. We're nowhere near the top few. We're a small club. We don't have the right facilities that we should have for our time that we spent in the Premier League. We all know that. We're all frustrated at that. If you show around a Rafa Benitez, if you show around a Steven Gerrard, if you show around a John Terry, they are not, in my opinion, going to want to come to our club. They're going to look at it and go, well, where's your hydrotherapy unit? Where's your 8 training pitches? Where's your, state of the art? We haven't done it. We've done it wrong. And we have done it wrong. And I do think we've done it wrong. I think we needed to balance it a little bit more. I don't think that we're going to attract, the same thing that Eddie said. The problem that he's had all along to attract players has been so hard. The only thing that's had going for him is the beach and him. It's not been the club. And while I respect what Craig is saying, Kirk is saying, and Craig is saying about bringing in somebody who has a bit more gravitas maybe about them in terms of the wider footballing world, I get that. But that person, I don't think, should be coming in at the top. That person should come out, come in the same place Alan Connell had to come in. Come in the same place that Sean Cooper's had to come in. Come in the same place that Jason Tindall's had to come in and work their way up and get us first. That's my personal opinion. And that's because I don't want to break, similar to what Tom said, the last 10 years of what we've got. And I really do feel that if somebody else came in who's not used to what we are and not used to the way we've done things and not used to the things that we have, the lack of things we have, I think they break it.
I think, to be honest, you make a very good point there, Tony, as well. Because the thing is you look at a team like Forest, who have had a succession of managers, and then all of a sudden they've changed it. They're no better off. They're no better off. So I completely agree that having JT here, effectively gives that continuity. He knows the club. So I do get, I do agree with that side of things. That sometimes when a new manager comes in, they want to try and change too much, and you've seen the wheels come off of so many football clubs. Forest, for example, we've thrown out there.
I was going to say, and what I would say, I mean, I do understand where you're coming from, Kirk, and I don't want you to think that I don't, because you and I have discussed this before, and there is a frustration that mistakes have been made in the last 18 months, and things have not. I think when we've seen a problem, those things have not been rectified, things have not been changed, and maybe there is an argument for fresher voices. I'm not saying there isn't, but it's that balance of what the expense is of that.
Let's not think that it's all rosy behind the scenes.
No.
Let's just be a bit cautious about that. I think cracks have appeared this year between the board, the players, and Eddie. I don't think that squad has been together at all. It had a head-on debate after the Newcastle game where the players clearly had a bit of a ding dong, and then since then they sort of all came together and tried to to try to get themselves out of it, but it took till after the Newcastle game. So, you know, we can read on Twitter that they go, well, yeah, do you know what Tindall gives us? Tindall gives us that togetherness. It gives us, but we haven't had that this year. And I think that maybe this is what I'm going back to again, is over the 10 years and the great job that Eddie's done. And by the way, Jason Tindall's done a fantastic job as well as an assistant. He has been so loyal to Eddie. He's been great. I ain't disputing that. But have we created ourselves a bit of a problem now with the whole setup? Are we ever going to be able to get ourselves out of this? Because there's too many of mates or ex-players in that mold that we're never going to be able to get out. We're almost stuck in the Eddie way now. And for me, I think Eddie's a one-off. And I think if we think that Tindall's going to do the same as what Eddie did, we're all dreaming, right?
I don't think we are.
And I
go on, Ben. Ben's going to say that. No, Ben, you're going to say there. I mean, Kurt said there. Do you think we've created a monster? Have we created a problem, or have we created something that we need to keep going? What's your view?
We've had Eddie. Okay, we've had a single dictator running the club from top to bottom.
Ben, your mic's on, mate. Oh, there you are.
Oh, he's back again. Carry on, Ben. Sorry, we lost you for a sec.
We've had our dictator running the club from top to bottom, which was Eddie Howe, and that isn't really the modern way in football anymore. You know, that was Clough, that was Ferguson. That doesn't exist anymore. And it's been great for us. But you're absolutely right. We have created a monster. And looking at the stress and strain on Eddie's face over the last few months, we've seen what that can do to one person. So, I mean, do we bring in... There was some discussion in the chat earlier on about a director of football. And my thinking is, I don't necessarily think a director of football is what we need. But I think that position run by committee, because otherwise we are just lumping it onto a single person again and having that same problem whereby when one person moves on, Eddie in this case, suddenly we're all up in the air not knowing what's going on. Okay.
Ben,
so
sorry, mate, carry on. To be honest, there's been a lot of clubs with directors of footballs, and some of them have worked, some of them have gone horrifically. And I actually like the fact that Eddie had control of the club from top to bottom. Whereas,
but you don't trust Jason Tindall to do the same, do you? I think he should be given the chance to do the same. I think, if John Terry come in, he should be given the chance to do the same. Steven Gerrard should be given the chance. I don't actually believe in this. I do call me old school, guys, but at the end of the day, I don't believe in this actual scheme of having a director of football who purchases players who they want to purchase, and then throws them. That's not
the
what I'm saying at all, though. What I'm saying is about having this committee that protects the identity of our club. Okay, we revel in the fact that we are different. We're always telling people, yeah, but you don't get us because we're Bournemouth. All right, Eddie was putting DVDs together of the club's history, even back in League One, even back in League One, to give to prospective players to sell them on what the club actually is, and we should revel in that. Therefore, bringing in someone who can just tear all that up and try and build it in their own image, I don't think it's something we should be doing. The fact that Tindall's been selected by Hughes and Blake, all right, but they've both been there for a long time. They've both seen what's happened. Having more people like that around the club and within the club, I think, can only be a good thing and help protect us and our different status, as it were. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Ben. To be honest, I retract what I said. I do agree with you on that point. Sorry, mate.
No, that's fair enough. We're gonna speak to Chris, who's been waiting patiently. Thanks for waiting. It's been a bit of a madhouse tonight, we've got to say, and there are
the entertainment of it all.
Yeah, it is. You know what? And there are people coming in and out of chat who can't keep their hands still. So we need to see your faces, and then I'll bring you on. If I'm seeing pictures of your ceiling or the posters on your wall, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to bring you in either. I do need to see your face if possible, because this is a kind of face-to-face thing. If you can't do that, then maybe we can talk another way. But Chris, it's been an interesting week and a half. Tell us a bit about yourself and your love for the Cherries.
Well, probably, honestly, just came on whenever they joined the Premier League. And I can honestly say it's from an NBC show. Some of y'all may have heard about it, Men in Blazers, whenever they did the newly promoted thing. And it was just like, whoa, that is such an amazing story. And being here in the States, you know, there's so many people here that just, you know, jump the bandwagon in one of the top 6 and it's safe and it's things like that. And so, you know, I just watched from afar from a while, you know, wanting to support a team, but not knowing really who to support. But then when that newly promoted thing came in, and that was like, man, that's something that, you know, it sounds cliche, but that's more than just a team. You know, it's something more than that. And, you know, I even have friends who you know, support Liverpool, support Man United, support Chelsea. And they always say, you know, that club, it's more about just keeping the machine rolling. And it's like, it's more, you know, it's like we're expected to win and it becomes headlines when we lose. And they says, and so there's just that anxiety there about not winning more than just enjoying the game itself. And so that's kind of how, you know, I got drawn to Bournemouth. But, you know, and first of all, first of all, thank you for all you're doing, and respect everyone's opinion when we're talking about coaches. But I know that from my past experiences, and not with football, but with just different sports in general, is we never know what's going on behind the scenes. We never will. And unless Max or Eddie do some hugely in-depth interview, we're never going to know. And then how many times have we heard about, well, why'd they hire this coach? But then it comes out a few months later, well, we offered the job to this guy, and this guy, and for whatever reason, they didn't take it. And so from my perspective, what we need to do is just support Jason and see what he's going to produce on the field, because we know that the you know, football, it's a results-driven league. And so, you know, it's nice to have sentiment, and it's nice to have goodwill, but that doesn't put points on the board. And so we need to, you know, just see what Jason's going to do. And on top of that, we always talk about health being the key. And we said at the beginning of this season that it was the most impressive team we had on paper to begin this season. And so I know we're going to lose some guys, but the fact of this is the most impressive team that we've had, I think we'll do just fine in the championship. But once again, it just all comes down to health. And if we can stay healthy, then I think that we'll do really well.
Brilliant. Kirk and Craig, I'm just going to take you out brilliant. So I'm going to bring in Neil, who's been standing by, if that's okay. But I will be bringing you back in, guys. Neil Dawson is here. Oh, well, he was here, and now he's gone. So we'll just see and wait until if he comes back in. Morgan, you have been very patient and standing by. You were on at the start of the show. You just might need to unmute your mic if possible, because I can't do anything from this end. So if you press the button to unmute your mic, I should be able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
You've been listening to a lot of
There you go. Can you hear me?
Chats there.
We can hear you more.
Was you know, basically, you know, Gary Neville versus Tom Jordan there, and you know, one of them was pro JT and the other one was
my God,
pro JT, the other JT. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh, it was fantastic. I'm glad you. Well, it's a shame you're taking them out, because I had a question for Kirk. Maybe he should run the country. You know, I reckon he could do a better job than Boris Johnson at the moment. You know, he's absolutely spot on what he said. I've been sat here for the last. You got Bayern Munich playing Chelsea tonight in the Champions League. Can I just say, I had the choice of I wanted to come on and talk and then go and watch the football, but I couldn't draw myself away. You know, Bayern Munich have gone away with it, and listening to Jamie Carragher, Bournemouth version of Jamie Carragher and Bournemouth version of Gary Neville, they're absolutely fantastic. And then I don't know what we're going to have to call Tom Jordan, maybe Matt Letitia or someone, but it's just been an hour and 40 of absolutely... I tell you what, there's not a way to cheer someone up. It's coming on one of these and listening to them two. They're absolutely amazing. And how Gary Neville hasn't run the country, well, maybe he should be knocking on Boris Johnson's door at Downing Street on Monday morning, but that's for another day. But my views on Jason Tindall, I started the show saying we should give him a chance. Now, after listening to what I just heard, I completely agree with Bournemouth's version of Gary Neville, i.e. Kirk. I think Bournemouth shouldn't go with Jason Tindall, if I'm honest. It's typical Bournemouth that they're going to. But why I don't want to go with Jason Tindall, it didn't obviously work with Eddie, because he's gone into a mental... he's had a bit of a breakdown, if we're being realistic. He doesn't look himself. And now we're looking at the fact that we got Jason Tindall. Now, Jason Tindall knows the players. It isn't a new. If I had it my way, we would bring in someone new like John Terry or, in my opinion, Steven Gerrard. But I'm going to get criticised for whatever I say, so I'm going to carry on. With a new set of coaching staff, we get rid of everyone there. Yes, okay, that's starting again. But Bournemouth need to start again. So we need to fix the club. Okay, yeah, let's be realistic. Simon Francis, Charlie Daniel, in my opinion, they're past it. Yes, they bring leadership, but we need to fix the problem. Now, if Jason Tindall comes in and gets us back up next season, then everyone can sit here and say, Morgan, shut up, you're wrong. But in my opinion,
Morgan,
Gerrard,
Morgan, can I not wait till then? I'm going to ask you to stop now. Morgan, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but what I am saying is I wouldn't ever want to work for you. If I work for you and then someone else comes, are you going to get rid of everyone? Just fire everyone out of the building. Go. This guy says go. He wants new people. You can't do that, man. There's people's jobs. People got kids. What are you doing?
I'm not a horrible person, but I'm not a horrible person, but what I'm trying to achieve here is we need to. I don't want to, make people redundant or get rid of them. But what I need is a consistency and someone who's going to fix AFC Bournemouth.
No, we've got consistency, Morgan. We've got consistency. That's what we've got. We're arguing against consistency.
What's broken, Morgan?
Exactly.
What's broken? Well, we.
We're not in the Premier League.
Said that.
It was.
Well, no, yeah, of course we're not in the Prem. But what's broken is Eddie lost the dressing room. Eddie lost the dressing room. So if Jason Tindall was a part of that, how do we know that's not going to happen again? Now, I'm not sitting here trying to say Jason Tindall.
How do we know it happened?
But you look at his coaching team. If his coaching team get a spot on, then you can all have a go at me on Twitter or whatever. But until we, in my opinion, we need someone new with a new set of people that are going to actually win. Are you betting 15 quid?
Yeah, but Morgan, these are adults. These are men, okay? It's not... Well, I do understand what you're saying. It looks like, we got relegated and there were a lot of factors in play. I'm not going to put it solely on Eddie Howe. I'm certainly not going to put it solely on Jason Tindall. I mean, surely there is something to be said for keeping a consistency, keeping a pattern in place, having a succession and saying, hey, this thing that worked for us, that got us up to the Premier League and kept us there for 5 years, let's not throw that away yet. Let's give it one more go. And if it doesn't work, then fair enough. You can come back and say to me, that didn't work, did it? Mr. Dennon, you have to shell out some more money and buy some more people. But you can't just throw it away. Because that's what makes us special, Morgan. And we want to be special. I want to be special. You're special, Morgan. Let's all be special. Come on.
It's also the
Well, I think I appreciate what you're trying to say, Tony, and you're making me laugh. I'm trying not to, but what I think that we need to try and work out here, it's not about. I don't think always consistency's the best. You look at it. So I got people. So let's be realistic. We're mostly gonna. I know Reece said we're not going to, but we're going to get rid of Callum Wilson. We're not going to be able to afford his wages. Josh King, he's going to go. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be overly happy after but David Brooks is more than likely. Maybe Aaron Ramsdale. We're going to lose a lot of our first team players, and we're going to be left with people like Solanke. And you really think Jason Tindall's going to get the best out of him when obviously, Solanke's like a Nicholas Bentner. So let's.
I don't know, but I don't.
We had someone like Steven Gerrard.
Why are we starting from zero though? That's what I don't get.
Again.
Why are we starting from the assumption that Jason Tindall is shocking and can't get anything out of anybody? That's something I don't understand. Now, I mean, you're saying about losing the dressing room or changing the whole backroom staff, Morgan. Now, I've only ever had 3 bosses that I would actually say that I loved and I would fight for and I would walk into battle for. Okay. However, I've had a hell of a lot more that even if I didn't like them very much, I could still do my job very, very well. And so as far as losing the dressing room or having to change the whole backroom stuff, if it really was just jobs for the boys, then, none of our age groups would have been doing anything any good. None of these youth team players that I'm quite excited about would have been making their way through because it would all have just been fumbled around and it would have been, like having Groves back in there again. I don't see why we're starting off with this. Jason Tindall is a no-name, therefore he's rubbish. We need Steven Gerrard because he scored lots of goals for Liverpool. I just don't understand that. That's all.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Can I just say I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm not saying Jason Tindall's going to be dreadful, and I'm not trying to sound rude. But let's be realistic. You know, it hasn't worked. You know, Jason Tindall's been with Eddie Howe for years. You know, Jason Tindall probably had more as much share as Eddie Howe in the last few weeks, and you know, it didn't work out for Eddie. The dressing room has to be lost. Or can I just go back to an original point that I made a few episodes ago?
Can I just ask how you know, Morgan? Can I just ask how you know the dressing room has been lost? How do you know that? Because I don't want someone to say something on the podcast that maybe not true, unless you've got intel that it has been. Has it been lost at Norwich and Watford as well? You know, because they got relegated. Just being relegated by default mean the dressing gown.
No, that's
it got lost at Everton because they moved it into a porter cabin around the side of the stadium, didn't they?
Yeah, but I just need to know that just for the.
I think that's completely.
I don't want to say stuff that's not true on the podcast. So I just need to know that, you know, how
I
you
think
know
that's
that.
completely. I think that's completely different, if I'm honest with you, because the fact that since the Ryan Fraser incident, now I'm not going to relieve my source on the podcast, but I have a source that told me Jermaine Defoe and Sylvain Distin were the most experienced players that Eddie Howe has ever worked with, and they both suggested to him, "Shall we try something new?" And Eddie said to them, "No, Bournemouth play this way." So the fact that Eddie has said no to them players, who are the most experienced players Bournemouth have ever had, you look at Jermaine Defoe, who an England international, Sylvain Distin, a massive Everton, played so many games for Everton.
Who have they managed?
You know, they're two big players.
But Bournemouth were better without
Distin Defoe.
Morgan,
who have they managed?
Morgan, can I say something as well? I heard a rumour that when Eddie said no, we're not changing it, Jason went, "I'll have a word because I think it's a good idea." You know, what I'm saying to you is that Jason's ideas and Eddie's ideas are not necessarily going to be the same. So you've got to be careful, because I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know that the two of them are the same up here. I don't know that. So where we can look at the failures of the last 18 months, we're not certain that the same thing's going to happen in the next 18 months if you're putting another person in charge of the football club. I know this is straying off your original point. But
really appreciate you coming on, Morgan, but I am going to cycle around Chris as well. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Sorry we didn't get more from you, but I'm also going to, we're not going to have any new people in this stage apart from Keith, who's been standing by, and also Tom Jordan as well. So hopefully we've got a calm end to the show. Keith, how are you today? Wearing your Bournemouth shirt with pride, I see. That's what I like to see.
Certainly am, mate. Certainly am. Yeah, I'm pretty positive. I do think we need to change the structure of the club. I'm of the opinion that we should be looking at what Brentford's done and their model, and also Ajax and what they've done. They were on their arse end. Mark Overmars came in, Edwin van der Sar came in, and they got a philosophy of the club. And I know the criticism about Eddie's mates, it has some validity, but that's our DNA. Sean Cooper, Mark Mosley, Alan Connell are our DNA, and they understand our values and what have you, and that is our brand. And if we can get someone like Richard Hughes to maybe take over that role, that because Eddie was micromanaging it, if we could get someone in who understands the philosophy of what we're trying to do, within the limitations of budget, within the limitations of what could or could not happen in regards to the training facilities, I think we've got to look at a different model, because I think COVID's going to change the whole of football anyway, even at the Premier League end, because I don't think the money, the revenue is going to be there going forward. China could say tomorrow, we're not going to have Premier League games, and they're going to pirate it in. That's a huge revenue loss. And I think we've got to be looking at that. And but I like the continuity that JT brings. He knows the values of the club because he put the values of the club in there with Eddie. And I think we've got to be smarter in the transfer. I think Ryan Fraser, that situation with the agents, I think someone else should be dealing with that, rather than having a dictator, as Ben has pointed out and others have pointed out. And I think that's the way I'll be looking. Huh?
I didn't mean it in a derogatory way, though, when I said we've had our...
No. But you're right.
We had one voice, one single point of truth. that we could all point to and say, okay, that's what's going wrong, that's what's going right, the buck stops there.
Yeah, and I think
also,
yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah.
Sorry, Keith. I think also I put it on the chat earlier, just briefly, and I'm sorry for throwing notes in front of the screen, but I think one of the things that hasn't been touched on enough is budget. And we are in a situation, and Keith, that connects to what you're saying there, is whether you had John Terry or anybody else that comes in, they're going to want money. They're going to want structure.
Exactly.
They will want to change things. That's going to take money. You know, we will sell more players. We have to sell more players.
Yes.
We're probably going to have to sell £100 million worth of players. And when they go, they're gone. And that's probably just to enable us to be on a solid foundation. We then need to look at further investments from that point based on where we are then, not based on let's get in the Premier League, let's do that and the other, because we're then going to have to be careful with FFP again. So we've got to get the money in of a substantial level. And even though we can say Max will back us, that backing is limited. We have to sell, we have to bed in, we have to move forward. So based on the commercial issues that exist now, including, as you say, Keith, about COVID and everything else that's happening, the Premier League revenues are going to go downhill. Even they admit in certain sectors that they've hit their peak. It's very unlikely they're going to go higher and higher and higher like they have. So that's where we are. So when you add that into the occasion, Kirk's back and the John Terry thing, I get that, but I can't see John Terry ever or Steven Gerrard coming to a club that doesn't give him some money. And to do that, you've got to be committed to sell a lot more than perhaps we want to at the moment.
And they're looking to go into the Premier League. John Terry wants to be a Premier League manager. He's looking for a big club, a big name. Steven Gerrard's the same, because that's the status they have in football. I go back to looking at what Brentford's done. The academy is the first team. They've invested in a new stadium, which I think is quite correct, but they look at it as they sell on players. They sold Mopai for 20 million last year, reinvested that, and they've gone on. And I think that's something, JT being head coach, but I think you need that guy, and it's very difficult and it costs money, but I think you need that guy who deals with that boundary between the footballing side and the business side. You see what's happened with Man U when they've had someone who's non-football trying to play that game, the Championship manager. On the other hand, this is what I want to ask Kirk. What's John Terry's philosophy on football? I don't know. I don't know what he wants to play. I don't know anything about the guy beyond he was an England player and he's the assistant manager, or was the assistant manager at Villa. I don't know anything about the fella. But I do know what JT is going to bring to me. And I think he should be a head coach rather than a manager. And I think that's how the modern game's going. I don't think, particularly if you're going in the Premiership, you can have that old school dictator, Ferguson, Clough, or even Eddie to a certain extent.
I mean,
I think... Go on, Kev. No, you carry on, mate.
I was going to say, John Terry will have his vision of what type of manager he wants to be.
What is it, Kurt? What is it, mate?
Oh, I don't have that answer, Keith, to be honest with you, but that's what excites me, actually, because we are going to a new era without Eddie, and that's for me, it don't feel right. It don't feel right with JT there on the sidelines. He's been there throughout the whole thing.
We can't afford that excitement.
For me, with hang on a minute. I mean, Frank Lampard pretty much got Derby to a playoff final with lone players. Well, I'm not saying we're going
to have to sell their stadium, and maybe there'll be a dot points like Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, at the
end of the day, Lampard got Derby from 6th to 6th, went to Chelsea and took them from 3rd to 4th. That's what Frank Lampard's done. Yeah. They lost 7-1 tonight on aggregate.
But my point is, we're also looking at Jason Tindall, who managed at Weymouth once, and the club nearly got liquidated. And he obviously nearly got him liquidated. I was a player at Weymouth at the time in the reserves, so it's a long time since that happened. And I want I want Jason Tindall to succeed. I will back him. I want him to do well. From me, I think the club could have made a statement here. Eddie went, that was a downer. Okay, they could have made a statement of intent and said, we are serious about this championship. We're coming for you. We're going for the Premier League. And they could have done that. For me, I don't feel like they've done that. I'm a little bit I don't feel like if he does well, I'll stand here, I'll sit here 6 months' time and say, you're all right, 5 against 1, I was wrong, he's done a brilliant job. My point is, it doesn't get me going, if I'm being honest, and I think we could have had a statement of intent. We've only just got relegated, we've still got a good side. Look, we're serious about this, and I feel the club have taken an easy option because they're on a hide into nothing if both fail, and it's a less of an impact if JT fails, Jason Tindall, rather than bringing in a big name. But for me, the reason I'm pushing towards the John Terry is I think it brings in the club more limelight. We'll get more matches. It will keep our badge in the window a little bit longer. That for me, you will have, and we might be able to entice some players to come and help us get promoted from these academies at Chelsea, Man United, Man City, etc. That's me. You know, if it weren't Eddie, it's neither.
I mean, what you're saying there, Kirk, and I do get it. I think we're starting to get into that circle now where we're going round. But I think what we all kind of appreciate is that you probably, and there's quite a few fans out there that do feel a bit underwhelmed by the appointment, and you can kind of get that, you know, when there are other names being thrown out in the media. What is really interesting, I was listening to, they're talking about what they've done at Brentford and how they had a development system there and a coaching and the training facility. That clearly, I think that's what Eddie wanted, wasn't it? That is what Eddie wanted. Yeah. He wanted to be able to sustain this football club without having to go out and spend 20 million quid on a player. Now, I don't think, like we've alluded to already, Max's pockets are probably as deep as we would like them to be able to give us everything. And I think he's had to make a choice. And I don't want to say this because we don't know any information on it, but the training facility thing has gone quiet, and maybe that way of doing things, which is what Eddie wanted, you know, that would have been ideal. That Brentford thing, and then you can bring in anyone you want then to head that up because that's your new DNA, that's your new way of doing things. Whereas the only DNA we've got at the moment is that core spine of people that we're bringing up through the ranks. I know that Eddie was a big investor in people, so from that respect, if Denham bought into that idea that we're going to always promote from within, he's probably thinking, great, I'm saving a few quid here. So I understand where you're going with this, Kurt, because you're thinking to yourself, well, where's the inspiration?
Where are we going to get the marquee signings and that sort of thing? I understand that.
So where do we go from now then? How do we improve what we've got? What's the next step? Anyone got any idea?
What's your views, Ben? What's your views on this one, mate?
Well, I was just thinking about the limelight thing that Kirk mentioned, and I do hear what you're saying. You know, keeping us in the public eye is important. It's how we get guys like Chris coming on from America and such. But then again, I think back to our first championship season, and how we quite liked being under the radar. Now that became a bit of a tagline for us for the following 2 seasons. I don't know. I don't think it's less of a risk for the board, though. I think if you bring in a big name and he fails, you can say, well, you know, he's got big, broad celebrity shoulders that can carry that failure. Whereas promoting from within and saying, no, we trust what we've got here. This is what we've been building towards. I think that's more of a risk for the board. If there's any actual accountability at board level, which there isn't, because Maxim kind of owns it lock, stock and barrel. So there's no real, you know, there's no shareholders votes to actually oust him or to have a pop at him properly. But to get 2 statements from him in 1 week, when we've heard nothing from him in 8-9 years, is pretty mad.
And they were both in English, weren't they, Ben?
By the time I read them,
I was surprised at.
What's your feelings, Tom?
I don't know, mate. Yeah, I mean, I'm just, like I say, I like everyone's opinion and stuff. It's great, but I mean, I'm getting a few pelters about my positivity really online and stuff, which I'm baffled, to be honest. I don't understand the thought process of, right, let's have an amazing 10 years. Let's get to the championship and then go, yeah, but Jason ain't ready. We need John Terry. Well, John Terry hasn't managed either. And let's get us on, that'll get us on the telly more. All right, let's hire Philip Schofield. I don't, what are we talking about? I genuinely, I'm not trying to be rude. I don't understand. And it just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And, well, we're in the championship now. We need a big name, someone who's been there and done it. Well, we didn't before when Eddie won us the league. I honestly, I really don't understand it. I think that the best thing that could have happened for me is, well, once we got relegated and lost Eddie Howe, I thought the last thing I want is for everything else to break up. Yeah, this journey's been amazing. And I think what everyone said, I remember, especially when we went up to the Premier League at first, people said about, we didn't have any big names in terms of players or anything like that, but it was the togetherness. Everyone said about the togetherness. And even last season where, you know, there were times where, I mean, we were awful at times on the pitch last season, but even pundits that then were saying, Bournemouth might get out of it because of that togetherness. Why do we want to go down a different route? I don't understand why everyone's got this kind of thing about, let's get this a chance to go down a different route. But why? Why? We've had one relegation from the Premier League in 10 years. Why does suddenly everyone go, we need to do something new? We've got to. Why? Someone tell me why. I don't understand.
I think
it's this new direction that Eddie said, not the club, the new direction. So everyone's thinking, right, let's go completely new. But I think it was basically misworded.
That's just a euphemism for not me.
And at the end of the day, what on earth could Eddie say? Other than saying we need someone else to take it in a new direction. He's not going to say, well, someone else is going to come in and it's going to be more of the same. So I think people were fixated. It was basically, paralysis by analysis, really, because we were all looking at that new direction, but it didn't actually mean it. It just meant new ideas. And JT can bring that.
He was leaving it saying someone new's coming in.
Yeah.
He was just leaving it saying we're going in a new direction because someone new's coming in. I think, like you say, I think it was taken out of context that this new direction was going to mean that everything was going to change from top to bottom. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm not totally kind of getting a bit kind of vocal about it, but I understand what people are saying in terms of, it'd be really nice to have it'd be lovely to get the Rangers manager. I'm telling you now for a fact, Steven Gerrard would not leave Rangers for Bournemouth. I'm telling you that now. There's no way. No way would he. But, it'd be lovely if we could get...
any lower club.
No chance.
The Saints, arguably a bigger club than
Ryan Fraser left Aberdeen.
Ryan Fraser left Aberdeen.
It'd be great. It'd be great to have that name, but I just don't... I think, we've got to talk, we've got to remember who we are. And I know that we were Premier League, but even Premier League Bournemouth...
we're not... What I'm saying is we're not Newcastle getting relegated. We're Bournemouth. And that is still a thing, unfortunately. I know I don't like this. I'm not trying not to be someone that's kind of remember, minus 17 and all that, because you want to be where you're at now. There's no point in looking back too far. You've got to move forward. But I'm not being funny, but in 10 years, talk about moving forward. We've done it and then some. And I just cannot get my head around why we'd want to go down another route. We've lost one man who was unbelievable for this football club. Surely the best thing is to get that man underneath him. And let's go. I think it was you, Kirk. I'm not having a go. I think it was you that said earlier about when we were talking about John Terry, and you said he'll probably only be here for a few years, 3 years, something like that. And then Sam said to you, but then what's the longevity? And you said, yeah, but then Purchase would be number 2 and he could come in. Well, that's what's just happened for us. And you're saying you don't like that. But that's what we've done.
I would restructure in that time because, like Ben said,
why do you want to restructure? That's what I want to know, Kirk. Why do you want to restructure so much?
Because I think relegation. Because we need more outside influences. That's the one thing I'd probably say with Eddie that we didn't have.
But Kurt, why don't you? Well, if you wanted that, you have the continuity, as I say, of having JT, Jason Tindall in this case, as the head coach, and having someone, as I say, Richard Hughes. We're not sure what he does. Does anyone know what he really does? He has a broad overview.
Currently, technical director.
Yeah, he is technical director. Yeah.
And so. Marrying those two, like most clubs are going that way. I know it's strange for us in the UK to have that structure, but that's been going on for years in the continent. Bayern have just shown that how that works tonight, and you could have that change. You could have the continuity, but you could also have someone who comes in and says, "Right, this is our philosophy. This is our DNA. What players?" Because ultimately it's down to players, are going to have the continuity, and we've also got to deal with agents. And Ryan Fraser has exposed us to what agents are like, and I think that was one of the things that brought Eddie, made him lose love of the game. In all honesty, was dealing with agents and the media and all that circus every summer. I'm looking at the paper and thinking, oh my God, we're going to lose half our team here. Now, Eddie kept them, but that could going forward, that could be the case this very moment. I think we need that guy whoever it is, Rio Ferdinand, I don't know. I don't know any names out there, but somebody who can deal with that side of the business, because that's how the Premier League is. It's a business. The Championship's a business. And with revenues going to get smaller and smaller, we've got to utilise all the assets we've got at the moment. Forget about the failures of the past, of what we should have done this, that and the other. We've got to look at that going forward. And I think JT's a good head coach, but I think he needs a guy who can deal with that side of things. And I don't, with all disrespect to the board, I don't think Jeff Mostyn is that sort of guy to deal with that. You need someone with football savvy and also business acumen. And I'm looking at, I'm not saying he would come over, but I'm looking at Edwin van der Sar, Mark Overmars, and what they did with Ajax, and look at the players they're producing now. And that's a long-term plan. I lived in Holland for 7 years. I'm an AZ Alkmaar fan. But I look at what Ajax have done and look at their punching way above their weight. And the Eredivisie is less than the Championship, but they have got a business model with a philosophy, and it's modern business sense. And I say Brentford are looking at that, because we're going to go the way of Sheffield Wednesday if we're not careful. That's my fear in the long term. After the parachute payments and everything, we don't get up and have a sustainable business, we will go the way of Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland's and what have you. And I think a lot of clubs are going to go that way, to be honest.
Keith, it was superb thoughts this evening. Thank you so much for coming on. Make sure
I'd love to come on more, mate. I've just moved down to Milford.
Yeah.
I've just moved down to Milford. Beautiful, mate. And had a great day out. And I'd like to catch up with all you guys, because this is the legacy, this podcast. And what you're doing, Sam, and E-fans is going to be crucial going forward. Getting fans around the world, talking about football, and all you guys are amazing. And I love it.
I had a nice beer at the at Milford on just what's it called, the Lighthouse or something at the end. I can't remember.
Beautiful. I'm just across the way from there.
Spot. Oh, are you? Yeah, no, really nice spot for a beer a few Saturdays ago. You know, that was when I still believed, but not so much anymore. Keith, mate, nice to chat to you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Keith.
No problem at all, guys. See you soon.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And Simon as well. Have some closing thoughts, mate. You've heard a lot tonight. What's your overall feeling? By the way, I can hear some wind chimes in the background somewhere. Who's got the wind chimes?
It's in front of the window in the other room. Do you want me to shut the door?
It's all right. Yeah. You enjoy your pan pipes or your wind chimes or whatever, but go on. I'm feeling very relaxed.
I don't make all the choices. But I have to put up with them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so final thoughts are, give the guy a chance, but I think football is a blend of what's on the pitch and what's off the pitch. And I think what Keith said there is exactly spot on. You can't have a conversation about alternative managers and all these other things if you don't consider the financial consequences or the financial benefits or whatever that might be. We aren't the poorest club on the planet. We certainly ain't the richest. We're not going to be the richest in the Championship. Get AFC Rob on here and talk money, or get Swiss Ramble on or someone else and actually talk about what they believe, based on their in-depth knowledge, not mine, what the financial situation of the club is. Based on that and blending those things together, give JT a chance, get behind him, let's go.
Good man, Simon. Thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it, mate. And Ben, again, thank you very much. Yeah, cheers, Simon. I don't know why I pressed that button twice. That's what I like to do when I've had a couple. Ben, cheers for coming on, mate.
Good night, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Really appreciate it, mate. And so then there were 4. There are 2 more. Rich Neal's been standing by, and I only heard from him very briefly. So, Rich, put your phone down, because I'm going to be bringing you in any second now. He's laughing away. What's happening on Facebook? Like, anything good, Rich?
I was just seeing if AFC Rob had written anything, but he hadn't. So it was related to the podcast. It's all right. I wasn't just checking my Facebook. Your
dishwasher's finished, by the way, mate. So you're going to need to be unstacking that bad boy in a bit.
That's not me.
Rich, you've heard a lot tonight, and there's a little bit of pro. There's a little bit of kind of anti-JT. But on a day that he's appointed for the club, I feel as though we should be ending on some positive thoughts. And Kirk, we've heard what you got to say, and you know what? I can see why you say those things as well. You know, it's not kind of unqualified opinion completely. You're based on your sort of interactions with JT playing for Weymouth as well, and you're obviously a passionate guy that wants to see the club, you know, keep going forward. But we'll try to end on a positive if possible. I said we would. What excites you about next season, Rich?
Well, for me, it's a fresh start without being too much of a fresh start. I've never been great with words, but hey. I'm excited about the fact, you know, we're keeping the core of the staff. Well, I think we are. Obviously, who knows next week. But yeah, hopefully, you know, we're going to keep the core of the staff, give the guy a chance. Hopefully, you know, reading in the papers today that they're going to try and build the squad around 3 key players: Brooks, Aaron Ramsdale,
Kelly.
Kelly, that was the name I was trying to think of. Yeah, too many of these now. But yeah, so I'm excited. If we can keep hold of those 3 names, keep a couple of the old guard, I think, as well, just for even if they're not playing every week, but they're in the background, you know, coaching them, you know, with the others. Hopefully some fresh guys that we get in as well, you know, bringing them into the Bournemouth way. I think they're still an important part, whether they don't play every week. I don't know, but you know, that I think is still important. And I, for one, are going to be, you know, right behind Jason. I nearly said blooming John then, because John Terry has been spoken about too much tonight. Jason, and you know, I think that's, you know, till he proves me otherwise, I'm going to be right behind him.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the chat tonight, and I've enjoyed, you know, everyone's points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've had a message from Emma Price.
One very last point, because
go on.
He'll kill me if I didn't say it. Steve Hensman told me earlier, because he's too busy because he's got too many friends or something. He's had to go out again. But he said to tell you that he's angry as a wasp. That was his thought for you.
Angry as a wasp. Wow.
Yeah,
there you go.
I tell you that. So yeah, I'll shut up.
Thank you very much, Rich. Cheers. Thank you very much. And Emma Price said on chat, it's the Sam coaching staff that failed this season. I had nothing to do with it. But you're talking about the same coaching staff, maybe. And you know what? That could be argued. But the fact is, we just don't know. We just, we don't know behind the scenes, and proof will be in the pudding. And it would be incredible if Jason Tindall had a blistering start to life in the Championship. And if he did, maybe his gravitas, and maybe people would be pricking their ears up and thinking, this guy's good. And maybe he can build to be that kind of figure that people want to play for. Can you see it or not? Not really sure. But Tom, what excites you about this change? Does anything excite you, or do you think it's the right decision?
Yeah, I think I'd like to think it will excite me. I wouldn't use that word yet, because I think it's still raw with Eddie leaving. I mean, I feel like I can't really move on yet. Now Eddie's going, do you know what I mean? It's hard to be excited about anything because I'm gutted he's left. But as I said on my points of it, I'm relieved more than excited that we've kept kind of our our kind of philosophy, the main core of it all together, despite losing our best player and our manager. We might lose a few more players, but we're keeping the crux of it together. And I think that, I wouldn't say excites me, relieves. That is relieving part of it. And as obviously to Kirk, I don't want to, there's nothing against it. Kirk's top lad. But and I totally would, if we've got, let's just say, because he's been mentioned a few times, John Terry, I am the type of guy that would have been totally, just backing him, because I'm just that type of fan. But it's I understand loads of Kirk's points. I totally get where he's coming from. From my perspective, if I look at it in black and white terms, I feel that we've had one bad season over 10 years that have just blown my mind at how successful we're going to be. And I personally just want to keep as much of it together as we can. And that's why I'm happy moving forward. And, if it doesn't work out with Tindall, it doesn't work out. But I'm happy he's getting the opportunity, and all the guys that have been part of this journey are getting the opportunity. They've got a lot of it instilled by Eddie, the way we play that together. So I hope they can just carry it on from now. And I'm positive, and I'm hoping it will be successful. But we will see. We don't know, like you said.
Would it do us any favours to have a manager that seems, Jason Tindall? I don't know. He strikes me as a little bit knee jerk because he always has a go at the fourth official. Eddie's more composed and more measured. And, sometimes there have been times where as fans, we've been crying out for a certain substitution and like 50 minutes gone, 60 minutes gone. It was like, and, like Eddie makes it on 82 minutes. It's like, why didn't you do it earlier? Where, maybe JT will be a bit, like balls out of the bath and just make that decision straight away, perhaps, Kirk.
Yeah, and just go back to Tom's sort of thing as well. I think it's the same for me here, really. Tom speaks very well, and he always has done, and he's very passionate, wears his heart on his sleeve, and I totally see where he's coming from. It's a matter of an opinion, but I think it's respectful in that sense. I will be going to Bournemouth on a Tuesday night in horrible weather if we're in League Two and Steve Fletcher's manager. It doesn't matter who's there. How I felt today was I just felt that we were a club that's just been relegated and we could have really made a statement of intent. However, I will get behind JT. I really want him to do well. I want him to prove me wrong. I want him to be successful. I want him to get us up. I want, the team to come together. And I really want everyone to prove me wrong. I respect all, I feel like I have been sort of the downbeat person today, and I didn't really want to be that. It's just, I'm passionate that I felt I understand the size of the club. Yeah. I'm just feel like we're not understanding the size of ambition. 5 years in the Premier League and we're just coming down and going, oh, it's okay. We'll just accept that. For me, why are we not trying to push our ambition to be a little bit higher? If we told that Championship we're not going big, I don't want to go bankrupt. We don't want buckets again. But what I'm saying is, look, we're serious. We're going to win this Championship. And that's for me. I'm not sure. The first tweet I saw when Tindall was announced, and I won't mention the name on Talk Sport, but he went, Bournemouth have announced Jason Tindall as manager. Of course they have. And it felt like, here we go again. We've got to stick up for ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
They're doing the same though, aren't they? They've got an internal appointment as well. So there's got to be something in the water that's making, these two clubs, come to the same, decision of employing within is better than not.
And the club have made the decision that's best for the club. I understand that. Financial, business sense has come into this massively. And I really want it to work. It's not a personal attack on Jason Tindall. I'm still trying to get over Eddie. That's why it hurts. And as I said, I never said clear out everyone behind the scenes. I never said that. What I said was, if it wasn't going to be Eddie, I'd rather have someone, if it was going to be internal and internal only, I'd rather have had someone like Purchase, who was a bit more in the shadows last year and of years gone by. And then we start again like that with the same sort of ways of playing and what we've built under Eddie.
But could you argue that Purchase is almost too much in the Eddie mould? And if we're coming away from Eddie, we might as well have a different direction. Therefore, Purchase can be assistant, and Tindall, someone that's a bit different, has his tiffs with Eddie, could be number one, perhaps.
Yeah. And that's I maybe I'll come round to it, maybe Thomas sway me at some point, I just can't see.
He'll buy you a pie. You'll be fine.
When I'm sat in the North Stand, I'm looking at Eddie. Jason Tindall's next to him. It's just going to feel weird still seeing Jason there without Eddie. That's what I can't get. If it was Stephen Purchase and Mark Molesley, it wouldn't feel as bad. And this sounds personal to JT now. It's not. But I really hope he proves me wrong. I hope he does really well, and I want us to be successful. That's all I want, and I just want us to be ambitious. I don't just want us to accept that we had the best 5 years of our lives, and we're just going to accept mediocre performances and mediocre league positions again. That we should be aiming for more than that.
Crazy.
I think the key word, I'll just say quickly, so I think the key word there, like that Kirk said, is ambition, and I think that's where it's great having football debate, because I think me and Kirk are both saying we want our club to be ambitious. We just have different opinions on how to do that. So Kirk's obviously thinking, we could have made a statement by getting a bigger name, maybe doing things a bit differently, and that will show a bit of ambition. I personally believe that sticking with what's made us successful is very ambitious. So I think that's the key thing. We both want the same thing. We'll just have to. I think we're both trying to get over Eddie in different ways as well. Maybe I'll block out a little bit, but it's tough. Maybe I've moved on. It's like I've split up with my girlfriend. I'm moving on a bit quickly, but sometimes it works, doesn't it? Sometimes it works. So we'll see.
It seems to me like Kirk just wants to throw out all of Eddie's stuff. Get out. I'm throw his stuff out. And Tom, you're just keeping some bits. Just keeping a few bits, mate. You don't want to let it all go.
Kirk's still reading the love letters, crying, and Tom Jordan's on Tinder by the sounds of it. Absolutely loving it. Harvey, you know what? I love messages like this. Enjoy the championship.
We will.
And Tom, and you know what? I was speaking to Tiggs the other day, saying, you know what? I've had so many messages that are like derogatory towards clubs like Wycombe and derogatory to the championship. Enjoy the championship, as if it's some kind of put down. And you know what? First, you think, I'm actually going to watch every match of the day now and just enjoy it for the spectacle it is. There are so many times when Bournemouth lost and I couldn't watch it because I just, like if we lost, I didn't want to watch any of it. And we were part of a league that, yes, the benefits are there. You get this sort of global limelight and yes, you do get the money, but we were like nervous as hell every week and treading water. And it's no kind of life, is it, in the Premier League? I mean, yeah, the fact is you're constantly wanting to improve as a football team, and the better you get, that's the ultimate prize you're in. And being in the top 20 has a lot of prestige on its own. Championship football, though, even on that final day, Tom, we saw how unbelievably exciting it is. And you've got the range of playing, Pride Park or whatever it's called now, Derby's ground, you've got, the City grounds. And then you've got smaller stadiums like Wycombe. You've got such a range, and it all culminates on that final day. It's such an exciting place to be, isn't it?
I think what I like about it as well is you have obviously, I know this season Sheffield Wednesday probably are minus, but 24 teams in the Championship. And I reckon at the start of every season, you've normally got about 18 of them that think they can get in the playoffs. And that's why it's so exciting. You've got so many teams that are probably thinking we want to go for top 6 this year. And there are only 6 spots, and I reckon that about 18 think they can do it, and that's why it's always so exciting. I mean, I'm not one of them that wanted to go down or feels like I'd rather be in the Championship, because the aim is always to get to the top. And I love being in the Premier League, and I totally get. I'll definitely enjoy it. I loved it in the Championship. We weren't there for long, which was. I mean, I think I said I never in my lifetime thought I'd see us in the Championship. I only took a couple of seasons. I didn't anymore, and I couldn't believe which way it went. But yeah, I'd love the Championship. Some of the, if we're allowed to go, some of the away games.
Oh, mate, well,
I just want to be able to go. That's all I care about.
Yeah,
really.
And that's what all of us want. And I honestly think that the feeling of losing Eddie and getting JT or whatever, I think it would be, less bad, because as fans we can do nothing. We just watch on the TV or whatever, however we're going to watch it next season on iFollow or whatever. We can't even lend our support to JT, and it's actually quite sort of numbing to not even know when we can get playing again. And Mr. Tiggs, I mean, at the moment there doesn't seem to be any signs of when we can. And you saw that email from AFC Bournemouth about season tickets and the whole, you have to be Rachel Riley doing calculations in your sleep in order to work out how on earth it's going to work. I mean, you pay for it all in advance, and then you get credited or something, and then you pay for it again. I've got no idea. I think we need to do and explain a video, but
I don't think I'll win a ballot anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I'll see your name.
I'm getting a box. Ticks are in the box.
But yeah, Tony, how you feel about next season as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I try and always be optimistic. I think Max has said he wants us to go back up. Tindall, for whatever reason, I suppose he felt he had to, has said that now. We talked about what a failure might be. In all honesty, if we've got a manager saying I want to bounce up first time, and we've got the chairman saying we've got to bounce up first time, he's kind of made his bed there already, in my opinion. That how well he has to do on that first season, and if anything less than that is not going to look particularly good. I'm not saying we will do that. I think it would be more sensible to say, give me a couple of seasons, I'll do it. But he didn't. So that's the way I read it anyway.
I do think that was a big statement. I do think that was a big statement. I think it's I know it's people say, oh, well, he's going to say that. So no, I don't. I think Jason would have been, or Maxim, been the right mind to say, well, we're going to see how we get on. As long as we're showing progress, blah. They could have easily skirted around it. And I think the fact that both of them have said, we want to go to bounce straight back to the Premier League, that is our aim. I think that's a really big statement. I was really impressed with that. I think it would have been easy to kind of say, well, we'll see what happens, take every game as it comes, all that. And they've really gone for it. And because to be honest, if I thought we lost a few players, had a decent season, and then the following season we made more of a push, that probably would have suited me. I wasn't someone that was like, we need to bounce back. But now I'm really thinking, you know, that's what the club are going for, and that fills me with a bit more confidence as well. I think that was a really good statement. That
I suppose the only silver lining to this, sorry, Sam,
That's right.
it is just that I think with Eddie, I think it was more than just the Premier League to where he had got at the stage he had got it in his managerial status. You know, Maxi does want those big games and those big moments, you know, with United and that. But I think Eddie, it was a legacy, and I don't know, it's a gut feeling, but I think he didn't get the reassurances that he needed for the legacy of the club. And I think Max is more coming from a point of view that we need to get Premier League. Now, from Tindall's point of view, he's now been given his first big job in his career. So legacy might come a little bit later for Tindall, and actually he's got to hit the ground running and try and get this club up to the Premier League. And if he does that, I mean, his career is going to massively go skyrocketing as well. But I think for Eddie, it was just like, you know, they were sat around the table and going, we've got to get back to Premier League. And now I think Eddie was probably going, when are we starting to build the training ground again? And I think that's where it broke down, and I think that's where it's slightly different for Tindall, because I was confused. The job wasn't enough to stay for Eddie, but it was enough for Tindall to accept. So that's where that was where I was a little bit confused with. But I think Tindall's got to prove a lot more than Eddie had to.
Right. We are going to talk more, and then we'll do about another 15, 20 minutes or so. However, look at this guy, Harry Redknapp, playing golf. I've got to say this, whilst the amount of people that are on viewing live, we've got hundreds of people watching. Right. How would you like to play a round of golf with Harry Redknapp? Not only that, the ex-AFC Bournemouth legend, Tony Funnell, that's always on our YouTube channel as well, doing the Funnell forecast. We've got a mega prize, a round of golf with those two, lunch in the middle in podcast style, because that's what Harry Redknapp does. Also, a £20 AFCB Superstore voucher and £50 for the Rope and Anchor, the pub in Poole, Old Town Pub, owned by Cherries fans as well. Plus, one of these bad boys, a back of the net bottle opener. Yeah, that's what you all want. I know. It is a mega prize. All of those you could win. And we're basically trying to raise money for the Forest Home Hospice in Poole. Great charity. They deal with, palliative care, and it's a charity close to Tony Funnell's heart. And all you got to do is donate £2, and that is one entry. So if you're able to do that, we would really appreciate it if you went to afcbpodcast.com/fundraiser. Mr. Tiggs, I'm sorry I'm cutting off your face there. You can just raise your eyes a bit. There it is. Give it a point. Give it a point. afcbpodcast.com/fundraiser, and minimum donation is £2. Okay, we're looking to raise £2,000. We are 55% of the way there, but the more money you put in, the more entries you get. So yeah, you can win a round of golf with Mr. Harry Redknapp, Mr. Tony Funnell, have lunch with them, £50 Rope and Anchor voucher as well, and £20 AFCB Superstore voucher, plus that bottle opener. We just thought we'd say it there because I think it's vitally important, and you know what, we want to end on a high. So yeah, if you want to take part, the link, afcbpodcast.com/fundraiser. We want to raise £2,000. We didn't really know, Tony, how much we could raise, did we? I mean, initially we were thinking £100, £200, but I thought, you know what, let's go four figures. Let's go 2,000. If we can get 2020, the year we're in, we'll be happy with that, wouldn't we? And, I don't know if we do one of those children in need, like massive check things, or will we just PayPal it over? I'm not
to write the numbers on our bodies, Sam. We won't be able to afford the bit of paper, would we?
I hear you're going to be, sat in a tub of baked beans, are you, Mr. Tiggs? No? No,
I am right now, mate. I am right now.
I made that up in my head. Guys, Mr. Tiggs, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. And it's because we all love each other, don't we? We all care about the club, and that's why we get so heated. But it's been really good chatting tonight, and it's been great to hear other people's points of view. Good one. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Mr. Tiggs. And Kirk and Tom, I know you had opinions that are different, but it's because we all care so much. You know what? One of you will be right and one of you will be wrong. So we will revisit this conversation maybe next season. But we all want the best for the club. Or both of you could be right, and we'll have a 10th place finish. And then it's kind of like, do we stick or twist? And Kirk, that's the JT and JT, couldn't we? We could have Terry and Tim. We could have a little. Just imagine. Yeah. But it's what's your minimum expectation, Kirk, for this season? Again. Well, they've come out now. We want playoffs, so they've gone for that. It all depends now on keeping
those key players, and that's for me, that's Rambo, Kelly, Lerma. Brooks, get that spine. I think we're going to need to get a striker or two in, but if we can keep that spine, that is a good platform for us to build on. I don't see us being down the bottom. I'm just hypothetically looking at all scenarios and what pressure that would put under Tindall if he was, just above the relegation zone. But I think we shouldn't be worried about finishing mid-table minimum, but I think we should be hitting the playoffs. Can Tindall bring in a few players that can enhance that team and push us up to the top end? I hope he can. But yeah, the decision's been made now. I'm backing it. I'll be there. I'll all support them, no matter who's in charge. Do you know what I memean? So, I'm passionate for the club. I want the club to be ambitious, and I want us to achieve as much success as we have under Eddie.
I had to laugh. I mean, I do read the YouTube comments and I see them going on, and JTC009, for that message alone, I'm putting you in timeout, because what an idiotic thing to say. Kirk, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Cheers,
thank
Kirk.
you. And Tom Jordan as well. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, take care, Sam.
It's been an interesting one, hasn't it?
It's been good, mate. And like I say, we'll see what happens. I agree. I think we've got to keep we knew Ake was going to go. I think Callum and King will definitely go. I've got to worry that Lerma will go. But if we can keep Ramsdale, Kelly, Brooks, I think apart from up the top end of the pitch, because it would be Solanke and Surridge would be kind of all we have. Apart from there, I think we're quite well equipped everywhere else. Even if you talk about the likes of Offerberg coming back, we've got obviously Stanislas Danjuma at the back. We've said we're quite good. I think it'll just be up the top end of the pitch, and I think that will be interesting for JT, because that is does he think that Dom Solanke in the Championship can get him 15, 20 goals? That's, we don't know. But that's always been key. I think in both our seasons in the Championship, we had Graben and then we had Callum Wilson, and we even had the likes of Kermigan and Pittman and that banging in goals. So that was key. And I think if we can get someone that can put the ball in the net, I think in other areas we're quite strong. And I'll get my JT mask out and be down there and give it a big one. So it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll go up. Don't worry.
Yeah, we will. And you know what? I can't wait to have a beer with you, Tom, and with Kirk, Craig, all the rest of the crew. We'll have a night out on the beers and just try to enjoy.
As soon as I come off first time, I look back on it. I got called the Bournemouth Matt Letizia, so that's made my night.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm definitely in better shape.
Good man. Cheers, Tom. Thank you very much for coming, mate. Really appreciate it. And there have been some people that have been standing by that wanted to come back on, including Morgan as well. We will let you have another say, Morgan. I'm sorry, but it got a bit like everyone was in your face, Morgan. And I thought, you know what? I felt a bit sorry for you. I'll give you some time. Chill out.
Calm down a bit. Yeah, can I just say that I didn't mean to...
One second. Reese, I'll bring in as well. Reese, if you got a light in there, mate, that'd be quite handy. And also Craig Beasley as well. And then we'll be done. We won't bring anyone else in now because we could be on all night. There we go, mate. So, Morgan, fire away, buddy. We didn't want to turn into almost a Morgan vendetta. Because
no. Can I just say I did
is to speak and keep speaking and keep speaking, and quite often people want to say something, but sometimes they can't, including me just then. But go on, have you say, mate? Honestly, fire away.
Can I just say I didn't mean? It's been very muffled tonight on all areas, so sorry if I'm trying to talk over, but I can't help myself but talk. Can I just say firstly, the debate between Bournemouth's version of Matt Letizia and Bournemouth version of Gary Neville were sensational. It's been the best 2.25 hours of my life listening to what they've been saying. And if we can ever have like a podcast or a chat, but it's just been sensational. Can I just go back to my point? I didn't mean to offend anyone about the dressing room. My points were talking towards like Harry Arter. There was a massive rumour him and Eddie fell out. And several other players, but I won't dwell on that. We'll end on a positive. I want to wish Jason Tindall all the best for the future. I will get behind him. I saw on Twitter, I think it was Matt Letizier's Bournemouth version, put JT had a dream, bid Dom from the back or Steve Cook or something. But we'll save that one for another day. But I just wanted to say that we wish.
Yeah.
We'll have to go over that. But I just wanted to wish Jason Tindall the best. I didn't mean to offend anyone this evening. And as for the version of Sky Sports pundits on here, I think it's just getting better and better by the show.
Morgan, I'm signing you up for X Factor next year, mate. You ain't got a choice. I'm just getting you an application, and that's it. You're in.
Absolutely.
Well, I heard that Sky Sports wanted me, Kirk, yourself, Sam, Matt Letizia on Skynet season, so we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe BT could do with some better pundits because Robbie Savage.
I need a better phone. I'm on 4% again. My phone is terrible.
Oh my god.
Morgan,
it's just a
Morgan,
failure.
can you give us one? Can you give us one last blast of that song?
Morgan had a dream. He got signed on loan. He came from the back with Matt Letizia. He played for Burnley and then he came back. Whoa,
what the hell has this come to? Morgan, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
All I wanted was, you made some statements there, and I thought, well, I think they should be backed up if you know certain things. But, I can't really let stuff go out without being justified. But anyway, if there is unrest, we don't really know. But either way, we're looking forward to the future under Daichi. Morgan, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it, mate. We've got this guy. Salvatore is here with us as well. Hello, buddy.
Oh, what a beautiful top.
Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm a little bit hungover. I'll be totally honest with you. We had a very rare night last night of actually going out. And as I went to bed, I think it was about 2:30. I glanced at Twitter and saw the news about JT, and my heart filled with warmth.
Oh, that's good.
For the first time for a couple of weeks off breaks, and then I went to sleep, and I've just woken up now, not feeling great, and saw you guys were on, and I thought I'll come and find out what the news is, what's the goss, and find out how happy or sad everyone feels.
Well, mate, you should have. Well, I mean, you were hungover, so I hope you've enjoyed your line. But bloody hell, it's been electric tonight with a lot of people wanting the JT appointment. Some people thinking it's not good, and you've come at a good time because we're just kind of like winding down from it all. But so your feeling is good now. Is that because you're a Bournemouth fan of a long time and you kind of appreciate the old days? You were there when he scored on the first ever match when we opened our new stadium against Wrexham, I think it is. We scored 3-0. And remember that worldy goal he scored? It was from a corner and he volleyed it into the top left-hand corner. We were all there. Or is it based on a footballing reason?
Well, I think one of me was absolutely terrified we were going to get John Terry, and I don't want that guy anywhere near my football club because I can't stand him. I don't think he's got the right kind of attitude, and so that was actually, being totally honest, that was one of them. Was thank God we haven't gone with John Terry, and then the more I think about it, I mean, it's easy to go, oh yeah, we don't know the real inner workings of how much Jason has been involved, but also how much was Eddie's final decision, right? And he has been with us and guided us through the greatest time in our club's history. And who knows, maybe there was something he saw that he wasn't the boss and couldn't make the final say on. And maybe he's got the formula, which is like, this is that thing where it went wrong for us, so I know how to fix that. Whereas somebody coming in external doesn't really know and is going to come in and potentially try and revolutionize everything. So it's in that respect, I think it makes sense. The short turnaround, I think, probably has helped him as well. Given we've got the entire setup is Eddie's team, and I think we'd always talked about this. For when Eddie left, the worry was that everything about the club was going to be taken, because he was going to go to Arsenal and he was going to take all the first team coaches, all the youth coaches with him, and that was at the time was our worry, right? And obviously now that's not going to happen. And I don't know, like the worst case is what we get. It goes horribly wrong. We get relegated again. A happy place is we kind of do pretty well in the Championship. Again, I don't want to get too wrapped up in we have to go back up to the Premier in the first year. I'm still old school and I still believe this. If we end up being a really competitive Championship club, I'll still be super happy given where we used to be. And there's also a tiny little part of me being really honest that Eddie has a break and he's super happy and he comes back in 2 years' time and this is like the end of the Disney movie, right? This is like Frozen 3. You think the story of Elsa is course, but no, there's one more happy ending.
Mate, I would love that. Your connection there was just cutting up slightly, but we heard what you had to say. And you know what? All good things come in threes, don't they? So maybe there is a third part of the trilogy. Wouldn't it be nice? After you've had
I don't want to run over old content. I mean, you've been on for 2.5 hours. I just want to check there hasn't been a Frozen reference prior to me. Is that right?
No, there hasn't. You're all good. Salvatore, your connection was just slightly cutting off there. Hope your hangover gets better today, mate. Thank you very much for coming on, and we'll talk about doing a Down Under special. A Down Under special would be good with some people from Down Under, including you, Rob, Frank, and Mr. Hensman as well. Maybe that'd be a really good thing to put together for the Exiles on that side of the planet. So, Sean, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it, buddy. Of the cherries in all departments, and Reese. Sorry, mate. I've kept you hanging a little bit. You've heard and seen a lot tonight, but you got a smile on your face.
Yeah, I've heard Jason Tindall's been with the club for 12 years, and like I've got so much faith in him. Like, worst case scenario, we'll finish 11th. I don't think like we're overreacting. Like, I'm scared that we'll turn into a Portsmouth or a Stoke. But I honestly think we can achieve playoffs or get promoted either first or second. I've invented a new chant for the club because Jason Tindall has joined. All right. All right.
Go on.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I forgot. Wait. Wait, just put me on the spot. You put me on the spot. Hold on.
Well, I tell you what. There have been several people. Go on.
I got it. All right. We've got Super Jason Tindall. He knows exactly what we need. Kelly at the back. Sturridge in attack to take us in the Premier League. There we go.
Reece, thank you very much. And I mean, absolutely superb. You and Morgan could do perhaps you could get through in the groups on X Factor. Maybe. Who knows? Thank you
you're
much.
both going on. I'm getting an application form for both of you now, Reece. Sorry, mate.
Just to let you know, when I make it as a footballer, you'll see me on the South Coast.
I certainly hope so, and make sure it's west of Southampton. That's all I'm saying. And cheers, Reece. Thank you very much for coming on. Absolutely superb to have Reece on there. Thank you very much, buddy. And we had Algard singing "Smile," a bit of Frank Sinatra the other week, and now we've had Morgan singing along, and Reece as well. It's been an interesting night, Craig, and I know you had to go away for a bit.
You're not going to get me to sing, Sam.
No,
I can't bloody sing for toffee.
But, you, as a podcast regular, I feel and you went away for a bit, but you've heard a lot about what was said, and some. You know what? Kirk comes from one perspective, Tom comes from another, but they just want to see the club prevail, and Kirk feels as though the lack of ambition there is something that is being shown by what's happening at the moment. But Tom's more kind of reminiscent, thinking, well, why not give him a go? But at the end of the day, we're both singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of the fact that we want JT to do as well as possible, don't they? And hit the ground running as soon as the season starts. We're hoping for the best.
Yeah, exactly. And, we as fans, we've got to be right behind JT from the very start. I think he'll give his all to this job.
Yeah.
He'll give his absolute all. There's arguments for both sides. So whether or not he was the right man or whether or not he was the wrong man. I think we have got this season one attempt really to get back into the Premier League straight away, and I think after that it'll become a lot tougher. So I just hope the board have done the right thing. I reckon Eddie's probably had a word and said, look, JT can do this, do that, do the other. He already knows the players, he already knows the staff. There is the job security now. So that put a lot of people's minds at ease. But I think we have got the one attempt. If we don't go straight back up, it's going to be a struggle because, let's be fair, the Championship is a graveyard of ex-Premier League clubs, of which we are one now. There's only 6, I think, and 2 of those are Rotherham and Wickham, who had never been in Premier League.
Do you think that? Do you think at any point JT will be on the phone to Eddie during this season asking for any advice? If he is, surely that's maybe a sign that this for him. Obviously, we won't know that, but do you think that would happen for some kind of advice?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. The good thing is that they are best of friends. So I personally think Eddie will still be there in the background until he gets another job. My biggest fear is, that Eddie might find another job and therefore take a lot of the staff with him, which he's got every right to do. There's staff that he brought through. Personally, I think there's only 2 teams that he'll probably go to, and that's West Ham and Everton. But apart from those 2, I'm confident JT will do okay. I think anything less than playoffs is a failure. There's a wide range, and one thing I quite like to do with you, actually, Sam, is just go through each of the Championship clubs at some point, a little bit closer to the season, go through them, dissect what their chances are, because there's a lot of big clubs that are going to be right down there at the bottom because financially they're stricken because of coronavirus, because they've spent way too much. There was the 3 that we mentioned earlier on. There's probably others that are going to crop up. The Wigan situation was complete shock, even for their fans. So I think, playoffs is a bare minimum for us. And I think JT will get us there. But I do understand, and I do kind of agree with Kirk, that we could have attracted a bigger name. But then again, those bigger names don't always work. Some managers change, and like I say, everybody knows. Of course, I got family up in Reading. Everybody knows, the situation that they had. So they recruited Yap Stam, and he rode quite. I think, was it Steve Clark that he took over from?
God knows, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is he actually did quite well riding off the back of that. But they weren't playing attractive football. He changed the complete philosophy of that club. Second season, it all fell apart. And therefore, it shows that a big name isn't always the way to go. So who's to say that John Terry wouldn't do that? Maybe ride off what Eddie's done. And then all of a sudden, when things start going wrong, he hasn't got the answers. Whereas JT, Jason's, he knows what the philosophy of the club is. He knows and has been there, and has got a good chance of turning round. And there will be points in the season next year where it does get tough. It's a long old season, Championship season, and like we found out before.
Yeah,
It is,
I'm
yeah.
really excited about it. 46 games, and they still have the international break. So there are somewhere it's like Saturday, Tuesday. I'm really looking forward to it. But we're gonna have to wrap up now anyway, because we're near to our time limit.
But I'll tell you what, Sam, very quickly.
Go for it.
Everybody's saying, "Oh, you're going to Wickham. You're going to Wickham." I'm actually looking forward to Wickham.
Mate, Novia, we're going to be able to celebrate goals like unabridged. Quick glance at the linesman. Happy days. We're not have to, because you know what? It was at first I was for it, but to see the way the Premier League have deployed it is absolutely criminal. And the Premier League, for what is supposed to be the best league in the world, they have absolutely butchered VAR to death. So I'm not upset about not being part of it, to be fair. And there's many actually, what will I miss about being in the Premier League? Okay, the prestige, the global media coverage, but that was stuff that benefited the club. As a football fan, the Championship is the perfect division. So fuck it, I'm all for it. Craig, mate, I'm gonna have to wrap it up now. Thank you very much for your input today, mate.
No problem at all, Sam. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And you know what? It's been a stimulating debate, hasn't it? It's been, and you know what? For someone that's viewed this podcast for the first time, they're probably thinking, what on earth? It was a bit of a hodgepodge of people. I think it's been a bit of a learning curve because we've done this before, but I think I can maybe only have 4 maximum on screen at once, 5, maybe 6, but going 8 ways, a bit crazy. Apologies for the technical issues at the very start of the show. That was beyond my control. That was StreamYard having a mare. In the meantime, I've been sent this. Tom Jordan, he's recommended by Lionel Messi, apparently, according to that screenshot. Absolutely superb. Really, really love that, Tom. Thank you very much for tuning in. There's more AFCB content on the way. Look, we're all behind JT. Just to sum up my thoughts, the new direction, as I said at the start, it's been the buzzword all week. Howe mentioned it in his letter. The club didn't, and it has been something that we fixated on quite a bit. But the new direction doesn't always mean having to have wholesale changes of everyone. Jason Tindall will have new ideas as well. I'm absolutely certain. I think his media nous is pretty poor. And I think that sometimes detracts from his coaching ability. Even some people were watching that interview this morning or this afternoon on AFCB TV being a bit nonplussed about it. Look, we're all still raw after getting relegated, and after having Eddie, Le God or whatever, our saviour, the special one, we're now seemingly dropping down to JT. But let's not forget Eddie's faults as well. He wasn't the perfect manager, and he made a lot of mistakes. Maybe JT was a part of that. Maybe he wasn't. We know how stubborn Eddie could be. Maybe JT wanted something else. I've had intel from someone saying that JT's been responsible. This evening I chatted to someone who said, he's been personally responsible for, some of our turnarounds where formations have been changed at half time and we've actually turned a game round. Like, we know they fell out. And Eddie made a lot of mistakes this season, I believe. And, the break, I really hope it does do him good, because it certainly doesn't detract from what he's done, like overall. But this season, square pegs in round holes for a long part of it. That means playing players out of position, making substitutes at strange times, sometimes almost going gung-ho at the end of a match and putting like 5 strikers on the pitch and stuff. I think Jason Tindall will do all right, because at the end of the day, as fans, we may be a bit like, meh, but continuity in squad harmony is key. The external manager, maybe they bring in new ideas, but they'll bring in new staff, more people to learn, maybe a new way of learning football. They've got less than a month to get things sorted. It might not be good for squad harmony. We don't know. And it would be a costly mistake if they got it wrong. Jason Tindall, perhaps the lesser of two evils. He's a hands-on manager. He banters with the players. And whilst that dynamic might have to change, I think he should be given a lot of respect based on where he's been with the club and what he's helped us to do. This season was a bit of a mad one. Let's not forget VAR shafted us over. Coronavirus wasn't good. The injury situation, it wasn't great. I don't think we should maybe... I mean, had we stayed up and finished 16th and Eddie walked, would we be feeling the same if Jason got the job? I don't quite know. One thing we've just got to keep in mind is that players like Ramsdale, Kelly, Stacey, all of whom bought into Eddie and JT's philosophy, would they feel a bit lost under someone else who's bringing in a brand new direction? We can't afford to let them go, especially if they're going to be the players that we're going to be, you know, fixating our style around. Look, we're going to get behind them. Of course we will. And I'm sure that we'll all be doing the same, either from home or inside the stadium. And look, I'm happy for JT to be in charge. And you know what? I'm not worried about being wrong if he does turn out to be a failure. But let's give him a go. And we will judge it based on the football, because this is day one at the moment. And we're throwing our toys out the pram already. If you want to have your say, there will be future videos on this. Subscribe to the channel. I know it's probably not the best advert for it tonight. However, do so. And I promise you we'll get your view on over the next weeks and months. Thank you very much for being around. You have been watching Back of the Net, the AFC Bournemouth podcast, and I'm going for a sleep. Thank God.